accidents are terrifying experiences. You're hurt, and you need someone on your side who understands. Call the Advocates. They have over 20 years experience with accident cases and have recovered settlements for hundreds of other motorcyclists. They can handle the medical bills and deal with the insurance company so you can focus on recovering and getting back on your bike. The Advocates are my motorcycle attorneys.
You deserve clear, risk-free advice to help get you back on your feet. You deserve an advocate.
This is The Monty Show, the truth in sports talk streaming. When you want unbiased opinions about your favorite team without the spin, all you have to do is find The Monty Show, streaming live and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on YouTube. And now, here's Monty.
Hey, The Monty Show. Happy Tuesday, September 10th to you, my friends. 2024. A lot to get to today. Crazy night, crazy week in the NFL. Crazy week in the NFL. Big 12 power rankings. I'm kind of embarrassed for the Big 12 media, folks. We need to have this conversation because I was reading a bunch of Big 12 power rankings. I'm embarrassed for the people who cover the Big 12 today. We got to get into that. Are you drinking soda pop? Did you guys hear about what soda pop's doing to your intestines? That's not good. That's not good. Yes, we're going to talk about, colonoscopies and stuff today.
Yeah.
You don't want to miss the end of the show. As always, we're presented by The Monty Show. Is presented by The Advocates, theadvocates.com, the best injury attorneys in the business. And I tell you every day, man, if you get hurt at work, the best workman's comp advocates, attorneys, people that will fight for you, The Advocates. It's not even close. There is a right way and a wrong way to go about defending yourself when you get hurt at work. And trust me when I tell you, when you sign documents, when you say, oh, yeah, I'm going to trust my boss or my insurance company, you're making a mistake. You have nothing to lose by going to The Advocates. Whether you're in a car accident, a bicycle accident, no matter what your situation is, if you've been injured and you need somebody to think clearly, be concise, and make decisive decisions to put you back on track, get to The Advocates. And the best part is you never pay The Advocates a penny. In fact, you don't pay The Advocates unless and until they win your case, and you never scratch them a check. There are no big consultation fees or retainers. I mean, it's just the right way to go about it. Get to the best 24/7, 365 at theadvocates.com. How crazy is this Tyreek Hill story? I don't know how many people saw this, but Tyreek Hill Sunday driving a McLaren, which is a really fast sports car, is headed to Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. He is speeding in a restricted area with light traffic. And this is really important, the minutia, the details. Well, it's where the important parts of this conversation are going to lie, unfortunately. So Tyreek Hill is speeding, allegedly doing 60 plus miles an hour. He is allegedly not wearing a seatbelt. Two motorcycle officers pull him over about a mile from Hard Rock Stadium. Tyreek Hill initially complies, rolls his window down, gives the police officers his license and registration, and then this is where things got off the rail, because he gives them his license and registration and rolls his window up, which a lot of people are saying, well, you can't roll your window up when your windows are illegally tinted. His windows were not illegally tinted. I think it's important that we get the facts of this situation right, because it is a very difficult and volatile situation. Tyreek rolled his window up and the cop started knocking on his car window. Then Tyreek rolled the window down and said, hey, I don't want people seeing it's me. It's people going to start taking pictures. He was worried it was going to escalate, which now we know probably was the least of his concerns. He rolled his window back up. They knocked on his window again. He told them, hey, I'm not rolling my window down. Don't tell me what to do. The cops said to him, if you don't roll your window down, I'm going to pull you out of the car. A second motor officer walked up to the window at that point and got very aggressive with Tyreek, told him if he didn't roll the window down, he was going to break the effing thing. Tyreek then rolled the window down, then opened the door because they told him to get out of the car. And this is where I don't understand what the cops were doing. For some perspective, you're a mile away from Hard Rock Stadium on a Sunday with a Dolphins home game. You know damn well who you're dealing with because he already gave you his license and registration. Have you no perspective? He has posed no threat to you. So when he opens his car door at your request to get out of the car, you reach in and you physically rip him out of the car and throw him on the ground. This is where I don't understand why this situation went that way. I truly don't get it. Tyreek Hill, was he mouthy? Yes, he was. Did he help himself in this case? No, he did not. Did he deserve to be ripped out of his car, thrown on the ground, handcuffed, and then when they wanted him to sit on the curb and he tried to explain that he had a knee injury, that they put a billy club around his chest and neck and forced him to the ground? No, he did not deserve that. And we get into this situation now where we're not going to be talking about Tyreek Hill, the football player. We're going to be talking about Tyreek Hill, the black man who's battling the Miami Dade Police. And unfortunately, I think that this is going to end poorly for the police. The officer that was very aggressive in this case has already been put on administrative duty. There is a pending investigation, and I think it looks bad for the officer that has been put on administrative duty because they already released the video, the body cam footage from this incident, which is a record. This is as fast as I have ever seen body cam footage be released. It was about 24 hours later that they released it. This is a bit of a longer clip, but I really think it's important that you see, but more importantly, that you hear the interaction between the police and Tyreek Hill.
How's there speeding? Move forward.
Hey, don't knock on my window like that, man.
Why don't you have your seatbelt on?
Don't knock on my window.
Why don't you have your seatbelt on?
Knock on my window like that, no.
Like what?
Don't knock on my window like that.
Why you have it up?
Don't knock on my window like that.
Why you have it up? I have to knock to let you know I'm here. That way you can lower it and talk to
Just
you.
get my ticket, bro, so I can go. I'm finna be late, gang. Do what you gotta do.
Keep it down. Hey! Keep your window down. Hey! Keep your window down.
Don't tell me what.
Keep your window down. I'm gonna get you out of the car. As a matter of fact, get out of the car.
Give me that.
Get out of the car.
Give me that. I'm gonna break that freaking window.
Get out of the car.
I'm finna get out.
Get out of the car right now. We're not playing this game. Get out.
Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. What part of blood don't you understand? Hey, Drew, I'm getting arrested, Drew. I'm getting arrested. Drew. I'm getting out, bro. God damn, twin.
When we tell you to do something, you do it. You understand?
I'm getting out,
You
bro.
understand? Not what you want, but what we tell you.
I'm getting
You're a little
out.
fucking confused.
I'm getting out, bro.
Too late.
Chill,
Too
bro.
late.
All right, bro. Take
Too
me to
late.
jail, bro. Do what you gotta do, bro.
We are. We will.
Good, bro.
It is good.
Hey, Drew. Hey,
Don't worry about it. I hung up the phone. You stop crying.
bro. Y'all
Don't move.
good. Bro, you
Set 'em
beating
up.
on my window like you crazy.
You set him up.
Why y'all beating on my window like y'all crazy for? Damn, yo. Hold on, bro. I just had surgery on my knee. bro. I just had surgery on my knee, bro.
I just heard you in your ears when we told you to put your window down.
Chill, bro. Hey, Joe New, bro.
Back up.
Hey, call Drew. I'm in the car.
You gotta go before you get a ticket.
I'm not driving.
Who's the driver?
This is my car.
All right, move.
All right, I'll take that.
You gotta move right now.
I'm coming, man.
Let me have your license. You're gonna have to ticket too.
I'm coming.
Let me have your license. You're gonna have to ticket. Let me have your license.
I'm leaving.
I'm not playing. Let me have your
I'm
license.
leaving. Yo, what's
Your
going
license
on?
right now.
Yo, what's going on,
Your license
man?
right now. You're not gonna give me your license?
Hey,
You're not gonna give me your license?
I'm leaving.
Let me have your license.
leaving.
Your license right now.
Sir,
Hey, your license right now.
I'm leaving.
Or I'm gonna lock you up.
just told
Your
me to
license
leave.
right now.
He just told me to
Your
leave.
license right now.
Sir, he just-
You're dealing with me now.
Sir.
Your license right now.
What are we doing here? Like this is a really difficult job. Being a police officer in this country is a really difficult job. I have no idea what they're doing because that's not being a police officer. And being that aggressive, holding handcuffs in your hand and threatening people, the physical altercation with Tyreek Hill, grabbing him around the neck. I thought it was a Billy. That was the guy's arm. Grabbing him around the neck like that, forcibly putting him on the ground when he's trying to explain to you, hey, I just had knee surgery. And then the worst part is you didn't arrest him. You did not arrest him. You didn't take him to jail. He committed this egregious offense and you didn't arrest him.
Mm-hmm.
But you physically yanked him out of the car. You're kneeling on his lower back. I have no idea what they're doing here.
Well, and I just think that they had multiple opportunities to de-escalate the situation. I mean, so these are motorcycle cops. They roll up on his left and they say, hey, you were speeding, pull over. So he pulls over. Then they tell him to pull forward, which, happens in some situations out on the road. Sometimes the cops need you to pull into a safer spot, a more suitable spot to conduct the traffic stop. So at that point, I didn't really have too much of a problem with what the cops were doing. But then, this whole knocking on the window thing and sort of creating this animosity is to me what set the whole situation off, because they're knocking on the window. And in the video, if you watch closely, to your point, the cop already has Tyreek's ID in his left hand. You can see it waving around in the video as he's using his hand.
Tyreek Hill, according to Tyreek and his attorneys, and I think the video clearly shows this, Tyreek Hill complied with every lawful order from the police. When they told him, hey, driver's license and registration, he gave it to him. When they told him, get out of the car, he took his seatbelt off, which he had put on, because he got a ticket for speeding and not wearing a seatbelt. He had put his seatbelt on. When they told him to get out of the car, you can see him through the window, take off his seatbelt, and he opened the car. He opened the car door, and you can see that where I part from the police here is their physically aggressive behavior. There's just no reason for it. And the funny thing is, this window knocking thing, it is not illegal for him to not roll his window down. It is not tinted. You can see through it, and I'll play the video again so that you can see this.
What's your speeding?
And what you're seeing here is he was asked to pull up right here. He said he tried to run away. He never tried to run away. He simply did what he was told to do, which was pull up and pull over.
Hey, don't knock on my window like that, man.
Why don't you have your seatbelt on?
Don't knock on my window.
Why don't you have your seatbelt
Knock
on?
on my window like that, though.
Like what?
Don't knock on my window like that.
Why you have it up?
Don't knock on my window like that.
Why you have it up? I have to knock to let you know I'm
He's got
here.
Tyreek's
Now we can
license
lower
in
it
his
and talk
hand.
to
Just
you.
get my ticket, bro, so I can go. I'm finna be late, gang.
Right
What you
there,
gotta
should have been
do.
over.
He should have just walked away and written the ticket.
Keep it down. Hey,
And look, you can
Keep your
see,
window
notice
down.
you can look right through the window.
Yeah, so it's not illegal. We can
And there he is putting on his seatbelt.
Yeah.
hey. Keep your window down.
Don't tell me what.
Keep your window down. I'm gonna get you out of the car. As a matter of fact, get out of the car.
Yeah,
Get out of the car.
takes it.
Break that freaking window.
Get out of the car.
I'm finna get out.
And
Get out
then
of the
right
car
there,
right now.
the other cop
We're
said,
not
if you
playing
don't
this
roll
game.
it down, I'm
Get
going to
out.
break the
Get
effing
out.
window.
Get out. Get out. Get out.
Look at how
Get
aggressive.
out. What part of violence you in this
One
thing?
thing I think is really important here for people to understand, a lot of people don't seem to get this. I am not physically capable of getting in and out of a McLaren. Because when you're in a McLaren, you are sitting below the frame rail. So it is not easy to just swing your legs over and get out of that car. So people are like, he wouldn't get out of the car. You could clearly see him trying to get out of the car. And I think people don't understand that you're not just it's not an SUV where you can just put your leg out.
Well, not only that, I mean, the seats in most of these kind of cars, like McLarens or higher end cars, they have bolsters. So you're sitting in a bucket seat below the frame of the car. So it holds you in. So if you're driving the car fast, you're not flying all over the place. And it literally makes it hard to get in and out of the vehicle. And I guess the biggest thing here, because the video doesn't support the cops at all, obviously, but
which is a huge problem.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing here is just a lack of perspective in the moment. Like you said, like they know who Tyreek Hill is. Everybody knows who Tyreek Hill is. It's very clear.
It's
this
Sunday.
Is Tyreek Hill, bro.
It is Sunday. You are detailed to stadium duty, so you are there for traffic flow and control. As fans enter the Hard Rock Stadium parking areas, you know what day of the week it is. As soon as he handed you his license and registration, and he said to you, I don't want, he told the cop, and I would encourage you, get online, watch the entire unedited body cam footage. He tells the cop, I don't want people taking my picture. He's getting a ticket, which is why he claims he rolled the window up. It's not unlawful or illegal to roll the window up. What should have happened is when he handed you the license and registration, you should have walked away and written him the ticket, because he said, write me the ticket. Do what you got to do, man. I'm going to be late. You should have walked away and written him the ticket.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part. Now, how I would have handled it differently. I would have left my window down, but I'm not a wide receiver for the Dolphins. I'm not somebody famous. And I understand him not wanting to leave the window down. I also understand that people want to make this into an officer safety issue. Did the officer ever back away like, oh, I can't see what he's doing? He didn't. He got more aggressive.
Well, and it just starts right away when he walks up to the car. I mean, the interaction of the cops saying to him repeatedly, why don't you have your seatbelt on? Why don't you have your seatbelt on? Like, you're not talking to him. You're chirping at him. You're instigating hostility in the conversation. And Tyreek Hill at that moment in the video is also doing something similar. And so it's like, I'm not saying Tyreek is 100%, blameless here.
He's not.
I'm just telling you, man, like rolling your window up like that. I understand his reasoning, but it's not going to help the situation. Like you didn't do yourself any favors early on in this interaction, but Tyreek Hill's liability ends when they rip him out of the car senselessly and needlessly. And that's what I don't get.
I don't understand in this day and age to treat Calais Campbell and Jonnu Smith the way that you did. I mean, Calais Campbell is an NFL Walter Payton Man of the Year. He never raised his voice according to the body cam footage. He was simply asking what the situation was. And then to handcuff him and detain him, it's wild to me. It's wild to me. This situation never had to happen. And again, I'm not telling you that Tyreek Hill is blameless, but he clearly, in my opinion, his biggest mistake was he clearly mouthed off at the cops. That is no reason to physically rip him out of a car when he was already getting out of the car. And then to physically put him on the ground when he's trying to explain to you that he has a knee issue. And I love everybody. I love all the idiots being like, oh, well, his knee looked fine during the game. What has that got to do with anything involved in this situation? What has that got to do with anything? He is explaining to the cop, hey, I had knee surgery. He's clearly trying to tell them, with himself handcuffed, mind you. Do you know how hard it is to sit yourself down when you're handcuffed?
Difficult.
So the guy doesn't even give him a chance to sit down, wraps his arm around his neck and puts him on the curb. There's no justification for that.
Yeah.
None whatsoever. And I don't understand why we continue to find ourselves in these situations. And I think it is wild to me that it's Sunday afternoon outside of an NFL stadium and you're physically, in my opinion, you're physically assaulting an NFL player outside of an NFL stadium.
Mhm.
How is this going to end well for you? A guy who was never a threat to you, a guy who did not have guns, drugs, or paraphernalia in his car, a guy that, yeah, was he mouthy? Absolutely, he was mouthy. No doubt about it. None of those things justify what these cops did.
Yeah, I just don't understand. If you're a cop, why do you ever like in this type of situation? Why would you want to go out of your way to pull someone out of a vehicle for a speeding ticket? Because if we're going to sit here and say, "Oh, well, cop safety, cop safety, cop safety," do you know how dangerous it is to try to pull someone out of a vehicle?
Ugh.
Do you understand that? Let's say that Tyreek, as an example, had malice in his heart and was looking to hurt somebody. You understand how easy it would have been for him to have a gun or a knife, or like, that's what cops deal with. And it's amazing to me that you have an opportunity just to conduct the traffic stop, go about your business, and everyone's safe and goes home. But this is how you want to behave.
And again, I think it's important context. I have done many ride-alongs in not good neighborhoods. And if you're one of my Bay Area listeners, East Palo Alto at 2 a.m. is what I'm talking about, with cops who show incredible bravery pulling over vehicles, who show incredible braveries. I like the San Mateo County gang unit running. I'll never forget. You guys don't care about this. I'm going to tell you anyways. There's a block in East Palo Alto that is owned by the Hells Angels. Their house is in the middle of this block. It is the nicest block in East Palo Alto in a really bad neighborhood. All the lawns are green. The houses are well kept. You don't go on that block. The block behind it and the block on the other side of it, gangland, drugland, gunland. Watching the San Mateo County gang unit chase a gang member through yards and watching them all run around that block, knowing like that's the kind of job we're talking about, you guys.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are not well paid. I was looking up the average salary. The average Miami-Dade police officer makes $72,000 a year. These guys are not well paid. My biggest issue here is the Miami-Dade police, in my opinion, created a situation that was completely within their control. They had no business ripping him out of that car. He complied and gave you his license and registration. You simply should have, when he said to you, do what you have to do. I'm going to be late. Write me the ticket. Do what you have to do. You should have turned around and walked back to your bike and written him the ticket.
Yeah, it's that easy.
Done your job, and that's all. But you didn't do that. And again, before we get to your comments, which I'm terrified about today, I haven't, and I don't even want to, but I think it's important to note, what do I always tell you to do in these situations? Don't get mouthy with the police. And especially if you are a black man driving a nice car, do not get mouthy with the police. You don't, as a person of color in this country with the police, and notice that these were not white police officers. These were Latino police officers in South Florida. And you still have a young black man that gets ripped out of a car without provocation, in my opinion. What do I always tell you to do? When they come to the car, be respectful. Roll your window down. Hey, do you know why I pulled you over? I don't. Now, most states have laws where they have to tell you. Cool. Do you know how fast you're going? I don't talk to the police. Am I being detained or am I free to go? You're being detained. All right, cool. They asked for his license and registration. He did that. What are you doing here? I don't talk to the police. And if you want to say, hey, just please write me my ticket and I'll be on my way. Okay, great. That's all this needed to be. You weren't wearing your seatbelt. You were speeding. You're getting tickets for that, which they issued him tickets for that. But all this other crap where they pulled him out of the car, threw him on the ground, then stood him back up only to put an arm around his throat and throw him back on the ground while he was handcuffed, and then to stand him on the side of the road, handcuffed for everybody to watch. this was all unnecessary.
100%.
And in my opinion, it's a violation of his civil rights, which is why I think, again, he's made it pretty clear he's going to sue.
He should sue. He should sue. I mean,
Yeah.
again, I'm just telling you, man. And I think it's a really well-made point. Like, whether this was Tyreek Hill or not, I would be suing. And I think it makes it worse that it is Tyreek Hill because he has resources and power. And I think again, I'm not asking the cops to be perfect. All I'm asking for is to understand when you pull someone over that clearly is driving a car that your average, everyday American's not got access to.
On Sunday in front of an NFL stadium.
Like, you're on stadium detail. Like, I just have some perspective, have some like in the moment, like, hey, like maybe we should be, not careful, but let's just make sure we do this by the book. Make sure that we're not being hostile with it. Like, let's just make sure we execute a perfect traffic stop. That's all you got to do. It's not that hard.
It's wild to me that this went down this way. This is an incredibly difficult day and age to be a police officer.
And by the way, what's the excuse going to be? Well, I mean, when they eventually come out with whatever the reason was that they pulled him out of the vehicle, you really going to tell me that you were worried about your safety when I think it ended up being like 5 cops and one of him? Like, come on, dude. Don't sit here and tell me that a guy rolling up in a McLaren outside of Hard Rock is someone that you're scared is going to shoot you.
He identified himself. You knew who he was.
Yeah. And you can hear in the video other cops in the background saying, hey, that's Tyreek Hill. That's Tyreek Hill.
And you never touched your weapon. You never acted in a defensive manner. You were wholly in the entire situation. You were wholly on the offensive from the police officer's side of it. That's what the problem here is. And we were watching the video together before the show started. The cop took it personally when Tyreek rolled the window up.
And by the way, and we're going to get to the comments. If you're the guy today saying, oh, well, we're this many minutes into the show and you're not talking about what the thumbnail was, then go on about your day.
Yeah, Fabio, you can hit the brakes. Yeah. I don't care if it's 27 minutes into the show and no one knows who the best team in the Big 12 is. All right.
Have a nice day, dude.
I'll never read another one of your comments. Like, it's over.
How do you have no ability to see that this conversation is now a national news leading conversation?
Yeah. You can hit the bricks, dude. That comment right there is what's wrong in our country.
I don't understand
these conversations, and I say this every day on the show. And when something like this happens, rather, if you don't have the perspective that these conversations are the ones that define us, maybe this isn't the show for you.
Yeah.
And it's what I say when we talk about politics. This isn't the show for you then, because I'm telling you that it is really important for us to have important, difficult conversations where we exchange ideas and your opinion is valuable. And it's too often in this country, not to go on some big diatribe, but it's too often in this country that we're not interested in opinions that are not our own. And it's in situations like this where we see it time and again, the same situation over and over again. Over and over again. Law enforcement versus a black guy who winds up on his chest with a knee in his back. And you're more worried about why we haven't talked about Big 12 power rankings yet with 2.5 hours to go in the show. Maybe this isn't the show for you, my guy. Maybe you just aren't. Welcome to the nightmare. Real life situations and topics need to be discussed. I'm glad this show does it on a daily basis. Yeah, I think it's hugely important. I really do appreciate having the conversation. Mike Smith, it's 29 minutes in and Jake has been a red ass for 24 of those minutes. I love this show.
I don't understand. I don't understand how people like whatever dude's name is, Forrest Ghost Fabio or whatever the hell his name is. Like, I don't understand how you're sitting here being you guys are clickbaiting or you guys aren't talking about what the title is. Do you really think that we're not going to talk about Big 12 football today? Do you really think that it's smart for us to talk about Tyreek Hill at 7:30 instead of 6:30.
Yeah.
Like, have some perspective, dude. Maybe instead of being a know-it-all, you should ask, well, hey, why are they talking about to start the show instead of in the middle of the show? Oh, that's right, because most people show up in the 7 o'clock hour and want to talk football. So that's when we're going to talk football. And yeah, I am a red ass about these things because stuff like Tyreek Hill, stuff like this, like if I'm a cop, and I know it's easy for me to say, right? I'm not a cop. Like I don't have their perspective. But what I can tell you is it's inexcusable to roll up to dude's car with that type of tone and that type of attitude if you're the cop.
While
that's
holding his driver's
like,
license in your hand.
You should be sued. You should lose your job. And there should be that's just what it should be.
Yeah,
it's
wild.
Unacceptable.
It's wild. And again, I'm just telling you, if you get pulled over, treat the cop with respect. Their job is incredibly difficult, impossibly difficult.
Yeah, and I think Tyreek should learn from this too, right?
Yes.
Like I understand the premise of, hey, you're famous, you want to roll the window up, but what I'm telling you is your sole concern is getting out of this situation as fast as possible. I think we all agree with that,
And
right?
yes, Derek, the partner didn't help the situation.
No.
When you're knocking on a window and then your partner rolls up and says, I'll break the effing thing if you don't roll it down, that's not de-escalating the situation.
And that's what I'm saying. Cops too often power trip. They lose perspective on what their job and their role in the situation is.
Yeah. The Glass City Buck. Every excuse now, it's hard to get out of the car. Have you ever sat in a McLaren? I have. And I'm not whatever Tyreek Hill's size.
5'10", 2 something.
But it was fascinating yesterday on ESPN radio. What was the conversation they were having? It's hard to get out of that car. It is hard to get out of that car.
I mean, do people really not know what these cars look like on the inside, dude?
The best part is and I can't, it might have been Bart Scott. Somebody was saying, like, if you drive a McLaren, a Ferrari, the new Corvette is exactly like this. That car is less than a foot off the ground, and you actually have to sit down into the seat because it's a cradle seat. Like you sink into it. So if you are not accustomed and you don't understand this, you actually have to physically press yourself out of that car. You cannot, it's all upper body strength. You cannot, like, it's almost impossible to get out and like put your foot on the ground sitting in the seat because the seat is above your thigh. Like, it's hard to get out of that car.
Look at this picture. I'm sending you a picture. Look at where your butt is in this seat when you're sitting in the car. Look how low to the ground your body is in this vehicle.
I love that we're having to explain how this car is built.
This is incredible to me that people are so clueless.
Look at the rail, you guys. Look at the rail that you're sitting against. This, I don't even know, this thing right here, right where my finger is, that's the frame of the car. That's the actual physical frame of the car. Look at the slope of the seat is sloped downward, so your butt is in the very back of that.
So then, when you want to get in and out of the vehicle, the thing that makes that difficult is what's called the bolstering of the seat by your IT band on your leg.
The red leather thing right next to the rail is blocking your thigh. You have to, and then notice the distance from the steering wheel to the seat.
It's tiny.
You know, it's not, you're not just swinging your legs out and getting out of that car,
this
man.
This isn't a Chevy Tahoe, guy. This isn't a minivan, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it's incredible that people, and maybe it's not incredible because
it's probably not incredible.
If you've never sat in, any car of this ilk, McLaren, Ferrari, whatever brand, they all do this. And the reason they do this is not because it looks cool.
No.
The reason they do it is because the car is so incredibly fast and able that if you didn't have this, you would just slide around the car. You wouldn't be able to drive it.
And when you're that low to the ground, what is that rail? The actual rail of the car, the frame, it's another layer of safety. So we have a lot of supercar experience. I don't own a supercar, but as somebody that has put on cars and coffee events and been around high-end vehicles, I've sat in all of these or attempted to. Trying to sit in a Ferrari F12 is not even close to that McLaren, and it's incredibly difficult. Giggity, member for 20 months.
Let's go, baby.
Thank you, Giggity. I appreciate you talking about the real issues before sports. Thank you. I appreciate
One
that.
of our listeners, when we were doing the show in Phoenix, had a Ford GT, a new model Ford GT. I cannot explain to you how difficult in just inconvenient it is to get in and out of that car. Like, it is difficult, man.
It's why I am not a supercar guy, like a Lambo, Ferrari. I'm not that guy. But even the new Corvette, man, that thing is, your ass is inches off the pavement.
Yeah.
I'm not, I couldn't be comfortable doing it. DK gifts 5 Monty Show memberships.
Go, baby.
Thank you very much, DK. We appreciate that. Let's see, Steve Stepanek. Hey, Steve, hope you're well. The politics is a lose-lose for the police. You can never win.
By their own doing.
But again, anytime we're looking at body cam footage, who's in the wrong? Well, the cop is always in the wrong. If we're looking at, and I should say 9 out of 10 times, if we are looking at, and the amazing thing to me is ESPN's on in the background, them handcuffing Calais Campbell when it's hard to hear Calais' voice on the body cam is what they put him in handcuffs and made him get down on his knees. Do you know how large that guy is of a human being?
And that's their excuse, that he was a big dude and they wanted to make sure they kept control.
That's crazy. Crazy. Ron Nolan, cops acting badly. Breaking news. But this is the issue. And again, I just ask, and I'll give the Miami-Dade Police a big tip of the cap on this. Their leadership is being incredibly forthcoming. To release body cam footage in less than 24 hours, unheard of.
Well, I think the dark side of it is we've seen this process play out so many times, and the longer you keep the footage, the longer you hide it from the public, like it just gets worse for you. Like, it just gets worse.
And the hard part is, everybody's going to say, well, Monty, he doesn't deserve special treatment because he's a Dolphin. Here's the problem with that statement. You're in a very dense area because people are coming to, you have to go down that road to get into the stadium. Have to. So a lot of people are watching. Everybody and their brother in South Florida knows who Tyreek Hill is just by looking at him. So I'm asking you, if you're detailed to that stadium that day, a McLaren pulls up, are you not just assuming that's a player or somebody affiliated? So what does that mean? Just as if you pull over a 84 El Camino in East Palo Alto, California, you're going to assume it's a gang member. So you're probably walking up to the window with your gun in your hand, as I've seen 50 times in my life, as somebody who's done ride-alongs with those guys. When you believe it's somebody of danger, trust me when I tell you, your gun is in your hand right over their head. You are putting the gun on top of the car. I've seen it dozens of times. You walk up to the car with your gun in your hand, and you put that gun right on top of their head, on top of the car. That's when you think it's a drug dealer or a gang member. Did you see any of that in this footage, in this video? They never reached for their weapon. They never were in a defensive, I need to be careful here position. You're at a stadium on Sunday. If you're going to pull this guy over, do not raise your voice. Do not be confrontational. Do not threaten to break his, quote, effing window. Do not throw him on the ground. Do not rip him out of the car, then throw him on the ground, then stand him up, then throw him on the ground. Do not handcuff his teammates. You know damn well who Jonnu Smith and Calais Campbell are. I would also remind you, Jonnu Smith pulled up in a Range Rover. You're at Hard Rock Stadium. I'm not telling you they deserve special treatment. You know what I'm telling you? All eyes are on you. And if you're yelling and screaming at somebody in a McLaren sports car, who you already know because you're holding his license in your hand as a Miami Dolphins player.
Yeah, that's the damning thing.
You're doing your job wrong.
Yeah.
It's not special treatment. It is smart policing. He's a mouthy little SOB. Write him his ticket. Do not give him a warning. Do not let him go out. Don't say, hey, Mr. Hill, hey, Tyreek, I need you to slow down. But go ahead, have a great day. No. Hey, sir, no problem. I need to, you were doing, I think the cop said 60.
Yeah, it was 60 something minutes,
60,
35.
You were speeding. I'm going to have to write you a ticket. You also weren't wearing a seatbelt. Hey, go back to your bike. He gave you his license and registration. This is Tyreek Hill.
And he told you, do what you got to do.
Write him the ticket. You were doing this amount. Here's the ticket. And go through the process. Here's where I need you to sign the ticket here. Here's your court date, or you can pay it. Follow the instructions on the back of the ticket.
And don't cut him any slack. Don't give him 5 off or 10 off like cops do all the time.
Hand him his tickets and then let him go about his way. And we never know this happened. We would have never heard about this. But now everybody knows about it. It's another black eye in the police, and you're going to get sued by the Miami Dolphins.
CNN with Caitlin Collins talking about this, bro. Like, this is a problem for you.
You're going to get sued.
Yeah.
Steve Stepanek, supercar owners, no matter of race, are treated like this. Watch any car YouTuber. Oh, there's no doubt about that.
All the time.
Steve, that's a great point. And yeah. It's difficult. Kay Sumbry. Hey, Kate. Good to see you. Hey, Monty. Enjoying the show thus far. Go Pokes.
We're going to talk about the Pokes today.
In the Poke media. Nathan John. I hear you, Marty. But some folks are just here to escape the real world BS and just want to talk sports. And what I say about that is these are important issues that I think we have to talk about. And I appreciate you guys being here.
And by the way, is this not sports? We're not talking about Donald Trump. We're talking about Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
I mean, is it not sports?
Eric and Raleigh, most importantly it's their effing show. It's called the Monty Show, not the rando in the comment section. But I don't disagree with that. But what I would wrap that part of this conversation around is I value everybody who's here. And I value everybody's opinion. And in times like this, I will tend to read more non-subscriber comments, non-member comments, but it always goes wrong.
Yeah.
It always goes wrong. Mike Smith, there is no law that requires one to be nice during a traffic stop. The very First Amendment allows you to complain, and cops take an oath to protect your rights. You're not wrong.
And I think that was the biggest issue. The cop took it personally.
But all I'm saying is, do you want to do it the hard way, or do you want to do it the easy way?
Yeah.
And if you are a black man in this country, you just understand you need to put your hands on the wheel, and you probably need to be respectful. Is that right? No, it's not right. It is protected free speech. We've seen it 1,000 times where you can tell the cop to F himself repeatedly and he can do nothing about it. It's when you start walking away or disobeying. If they tell you to get out of the car, you refuse to get out of the car. That's against the law. If you get pulled over, I'm telling you, have your license and your registration in your hand. I would encourage you to roll the window down, but you do you. Hand them the license and the registration, and don't answer any questions. I'm not here to talk about my day. Am I free to go, or am I being detained? And if they say you're being detained, okay, I invoke the Fifth Amendment. I'm not going to answer any other questions. Can I search your car? No, you cannot. Okay, well, then you're going to need to get out of the car. Okay. Because all you're doing is trying to protect yourself. That's it. And if you're going to get into it and don't knock on my window like that, it's probably not the smartest thing in the world to say. Probably not. I understand why he wanted to roll his window up. I totally understand that. And if I was a cop in that situation, I probably wouldn't have cared that he wanted to roll his window up. It wasn't tinted. I could see through it. I know who you are. I'm going to write you a ticket. I probably wouldn't have written him a ticket. I probably would have pulled him over and I just said, hey, I understand you're trying to get to the game, but I really need you to be aware that this is a 35 mile an hour zone. Best of luck. Go about your business.
And I don't know, the law to the T well enough, but if he was indeed double the speed limit there, I know in certain states, I don't know if this applies in this situation, they are required to ticket you for, like, I know in Phoenix, in Scottsdale specifically, there's the old conversation of, hey, if you're doing 100 on the 101, you're getting ticketed. Like, But if you're doing 85, okay, that's a different conversation.
Well, and we live in a state where I think Utah is still the #1 state for violations over 100 miles an hour. Pretty certain that Utah is the #1 state in the country for that. But my point is, if you're speeding, you should get a ticket.
Yeah,
which is fine. But it was 10:17 in the morning. You're 3 hours to kickoff, and you have that little perspective as a police officer is shocking to me. And he was doing 61 and a 40.
Okay, so not 30 over, not double the speed limit.
Not double the speed
It's
limit.
21 over.
Yeah.
Which is pretty,
Yes, never help the cops build a case against you. You should never help the cops build a case against you. Ever.
Yeah.
You just should not. With all the traffic, I don't think he was speeding. I don't know if he was speeding or not. The cop said he was doing 60 or whatever. I believe the cop.
He did something that got their attention. They didn't just...
And he didn't argue whether or not he was speeding. He said, write me the ticket. I don't want to be late. Write me the ticket. Do what you got to do. He wasn't trying to get out of the ticket or ask for special treatment. Zone state reckless driving, certain amount over the speed limit, they will be arrested in your car towed.
Yeah.
Which was never the case here.
No.
They were going to write him a ticket for not wearing a seatbelt and speeding. Scott C., when the police and the law are allowed to disrespect citizens, society also suffers. And that's the point that I'm trying to get across, is that this isn't just about Tyreek Hill. It's about our neighbors. It's about our friends and our family. That's the tough part. That is absolutely the tough part. All right. I will continue to take your comments. If you guys like, please feel free. Real quick, what did you guys make of Tom Brady's debut on Fox? While we're talking NFL, what did you guys make of Tom Brady's debut on Fox? Everybody's killing the guy, I feel like. It's the first time he's ever done a color game.
Mm-hmm.
He's never been a color analyst before. I actually thought he did fine. Was he good? I don't know if he was good, but should we expected him to be Greg Olsen? No, you shouldn't. I think Greg Olsen's one of the best in the business.
Yeah, well, here's the problem. Fox didn't do him any favors, right?
No, they did not.
Tom Brady is not responsible for taking Greg Olsen's job, right? Tom Brady is interested in doing color analyst work on the NFL, and that opportunity was presented to him with Fox, and
for a lot of money.
And people are killing Brady because he replaced Greg Olsen, who happens to be really good at doing color analyst work. And people are like, oh, well, he didn't sound energetic and he sounded hesitant. I agree with that. There wasn't enough energy in his coverage. He sounded hesitant. He sounded like he was trying too hard.
But didn't it get better as the game went on?
I mean, it did.
It absolutely
did.
It
got better. I think part of it, though, was like, with the way Deshaun Watson played, Tom Brady wouldn't rip Deshaun Watson. Tom Brady refused in his coverage to say, man, that's just a garbage throw out of Deshaun, because Deshaun, I believe, was 0 for 10 at one point on throws more than 15 yards. Like if I'm sitting at home and I know that stat, how do you not know that?
Reps. And as he gets more weeks in, I would imagine week number 2, he's going to be far better than he was in week number 1. I think it's a really hard job, and I don't think people understand how difficult it is to sit in that booth and just speak off the top of your head when you're Tom Brady and you care what people think about you and you care about the relationships you have around the NFL. I think it's incredibly difficult to sit up there and rip a guy like Deshaun Watson. I think that's incredibly difficult to do. But did anybody hear the news about Deshaun Watson?
Yeah.
Another lawsuit filed yesterday, not surprisingly by the same ambulance chaser who came after him with all the other women originally.
Mm-hmm.
Deshaun Watson is the biggest single mistake the Cleveland Browns have ever made. And that includes moving to Baltimore.
Well,
it is the single
Baker go.
It is the and I don't think it was letting Baker go as a mistake. I think Baker Mayfield is an incredibly average quarterback. Is he better than Deshaun Watson? Yeah, probably, but it's not immeasurably better. That's not the biggest mistake. The biggest mistake is you paid a guy who has settled and who has been accused, it must be dozens of times by now, but often accused of sexual assault or crimes against women involving sex.
Yeah.
you paid that guy a massive contract that's fully guaranteed. And he has not been able to perform on the field.
Mm-hmm.
He's not been able to perform.
Yeah.
So you took a risk on a guy that's not a great human being, who's not a great quarterback, and now you can't get out from under the worst contract in the history of the NFL.
Yeah, you're going to continue to deal with having Deshaun Watson or Jameis Winston as your quarterback. And my biggest point is you made that bet. Now it's time to line it. And I also think on the Brady thing, one other thing too is a lot of people are killing this guy for taking a year off. Hey, Brady took a year off before he took Greg's job. I saw that a million times the other day. Do you guys realize that he didn't take the year off? He spent a year with Kevin Burkhardt calling older games that were on tape so that they could develop a relationship together. Like this Mike Pereira thing, the fist bump with Mike Pereira.
Yes.
Everyone's saying, Brady's just this awkward guy. No, actually, it's his first time in the booth with his team, and they're trying to build chemistry. So I do think Tom is going to get better. I do think that the insight he had, even in this first outing, if you will, was really good. He's not got the fire and the momentum Tony Romo had.
No.
He's not got that same kind of personality.
But he did predict a play.
He did.
That wound up happening.
He did.
I think his analysis of what the defense was going to do, his ability to say, "Nah, they're not going to come. They're going to drop out." Like, great. He's just got to be more energetic, and I think he will. He's got a great personality.
My advice to Tom would be to just let it rip, dude. Like, just be you. Have fun with it. Like, give us the analysis of the play, but also say, hey, Deshaun threw it over here, and it should have gone over there, or whatever the situation dictates. Like, I think that's my personal biggest thing for Tom. I don't want Tom Brady to be sitting here trying to be nice to quarterbacks because he was a quarterback.
Which is tough to do, man.
Yeah, it is. I want Tom Brady to just be honest, give guys credit, criticize guys, like say what you need to say. Like with Aaron Rodgers last night, and we'll get to this game in detail, but if Tom was calling that game early in the game, I want him to talk about what it feels like to be older, trying to keep up with these guys. Yeah. Because I think Aaron dealt with that, like that's what I'm looking for.
Yep. Mike Smith, Watson got sacked, pressured, and hit so many times during the game that he set up a private massage after the game. Mike. Bailey Dietrich, not surprising because it's Jimmy Haslam. How big of a mistake is this? I think it's a huge mistake.
I don't think it's a stretch to say what you just said. It's one of the biggest mistakes we've seen in the NFL.
Ever.
Yeah.
And there are the LSU Raiders quarterback.
Jamarcus Russell. Yeah.
Huge mistake.
Yeah.
Right. But this Deshaun Watson thing, he is he settled those cases out of court. Like, this is a guy that served a 1-year suspension. What are we doing?
Yeah, nothing good.
I just don't understand it. Big Blue Horses, football will still be around in an hour or tomorrow. We aren't missing anything. YouTube has this cool feature called replay. You can even fast forward past the parts you don't like. I mean, it's not rocket science. Yeah, Mike Smith, that newfangled YouTube thing.
Yeah.
Right? Steve Stepanek, as bad as the NFL and Deshaun Watson is with all the trouble, Congress is just as bad as Deshaun Watson. Well, we also have a debate tonight that we need to try and get to before the show ends.
This is a sports show.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Wasikowski.
Oh, God.
Goff best in the NFC. Keep telling yourself that. Ron Nolan, the tone of his voice and pitch is offsetting, not confident.
Well,
really?
But I think that's going to improve. I agree that, and again, that's kind of what I'm alluding to when I say I just want Tom to be Tom. I want you to roll up in the booth, and we know who Tom Brady is. Tom Brady, as a player, was an absolute savage in preparing for games, just eating up the tape, like being prepared.
And by all accounts, he's that same guy getting ready to talk about games.
But unfortunately, the problem is, just like when you were at Michigan as a quarterback, as a youngin', it takes a minute to find your stride, to get settled in. I'm telling you, he'll get better.
A guy that's really good.
Yes.
That's the biggest issue for Tom Brady is you likely will never be as good as Greg Olsen was, even with all the money you're making.
I don't know.
Greg Olsen was really good at this job.
I I agree with all that. I'm not going to pass judgment on what Tom's ceiling is as a broadcaster until this season's over. We need to see him develop. We need to see him work on that craft. You got to understand, this is something new. Like, I think most football fans, and you guys tell me what you think. Do you think you could roll up in the booth and be a color analyst on an NFL game and do a good job with it? Because I think people just assume it's an easy gig, that it's just like, oh yeah, like I know all the players and I know what this scheme is and that scheme is, and I know when to talk and not talk, and when to give Kevin space and when not to give him space. And like, there's a lot of nuance to that gig, man. I'm telling you, it's not easy.
How to use a telestrator?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not easy. Mike Smith, but Hill gave his info, said to write the ticket. Later, they did police brutality by kicking when he was cuffed. Not sure how he's evading the law. Tyreek Hill was never evading the law.
Yeah.
He never fought the cops. He never, nobody has said that Tyreek Hill was in the wrong here. Yeah, I haven't found one, which is problematic. Should he have yapped his gums? He shouldn't have.
No.
But was he wrong, or were the police wrong? I think everybody pretty much agrees the police are wrong here. You don't rip a guy out of a car like that.
And I don't even think that's controversial.
Yeah, I like Romo's commentary. I think Tony does a good job, but I think there's a burnout factor with Tony Romo. That's me, my opinion.
I think that Tony Romo had advantages Tom doesn't have. Tony came into the league when Tom Brady was still on the football field kicking the hell out of Patrick Mahomes and had the opportunity to call some of the biggest games the league's ever seen. So he had opportunities Tom has not yet been given, and you can't just skip over that part.
I agree. All right. Hour number 2 of the Monty Show, presented by our good friends at Prize Picks, prizepicks.com. Download the app. The app is the way to go. Put it on your phone. I had a fairly decent night on Prize Picks playing baseball. I would like to thank the Kansas City Royals for being the flipping frauds that they are. Thank you. Booney and the New York Yankees last night. Because frankly, it was with great honor and pleasure that Aaron Judge was a 2.5 total bases guy. And he had 2 hits last night, and it was amazing. I just want everybody to know again that Anthony Rizzo's hitting 220 and went 0 for 4 last night. Which I don't flame him for. So I got a win there. And then, of course, because I don't know how to use my fat thumbs and find my plays. I would also like to thank my guy, Michael Bush. He is my guy. He was 1.5 total bases. How about 4 for 5?
Yeah.
How about 3 RBIs and 3 runs scored?
Yeah.
Hit a bomb. Yeah, that was amazing. And then Cody Bellinger as well came through. Yeah, your boy was 3 for 3 last night.
Yeah.
Won $56.20.
Get some.
Just would like to say, after a terrible weekend of football, I got pounded on Prize Picks in football over the weekend, which was, thank God Caleb Williams was half a yard, because I probably, if the number had been 400, I probably would have been, oh yeah, Caleb's going off, MVP. Admittedly, I flew the Bears flag for like 15 minutes because it was an okay win. Anyway, download the Prize Picks app, and as I tell you every day, it is the single best daily fantasy promotion I've ever seen. You deposit $5 in a new account at Prize Picks, they'll give you 50 more. You can play the entire season pretty easily on $55 at Prize Picks. You deposit 5, they'll give you 50 more. All you have to do is use the promo code Monty. When you open up a new account at Prize Picks, deposit $5, they'll give you 50 more. At Prize Picks, it's super easy. Here's the formula to win, and I tell you this every day as well, and people question me, and I can't remember his name. He sent me like a 7 pick, and he didn't use Flex Play. I'm trying to help you. Right? I can't help you if you don't take my proven formula.
Bro, you did 7
proven
picks
success
and power played it? Come on,
so
bro.
Flex Play means that, like, and in my formula, make 3 plays. Bet $5 on 3 picks, right? Aaron Rodgers last night. How many times is his family going to hate him? I took more than 5, right? How many Aaron Rodgers 200 yards passing, more or less, right? You're going to make 3 of those plays. That's simple. You're going to put a $5 flex play because then you only have to win 2 or 3. You only got to get 2 or 3 right. And then you win money. And that's the 3, not 7, where you only got 2 right out of 7. Do you know how hard on a power is empty. On a power play, you have to get 7 for 7. Play a flex play. They give you leeway. It's not difficult.
And by the way, the name of the game is not betting 10 to make like 1,000 on
No.
like 18 picks. It's bet 10 on a 2 or 3 flex play to win 25. Like that's all you got to do, bro. And if you do that, you're going to be in the spot that I'm in, and I'm pretty sure you're in, where you've built it up and you've got like $700 in your prize.
I've got a war chest.
Yeah,
like it's not difficult.
More.
It's not difficult.
Come on.
Prize Picks, use the promo code Monty to open up a new account at Prize Picks in the app. You deposit $5, they'll give you $50 more. Big 12 power rankings to kick off hour number 2 of the Vanilla Sports Talk.
Well said.
Let's not get anybody upset here, friends. Who's the best team in the Big 12? We've got to get to Mike Gundy. Because
you already know
the bootlickers in the Pokes media stable,
dude.
How? See what? Ask good questions, please. Anybody?
Steve Shaw is the head of the officiating.
I got that wrong. That was the other Mike one.
Yeah. When I looked back on it on Sunday, from the sideline, it looked like some of their receivers were just running wide open. But when you go back and look on tape, it wasn't that bad. Guys.
It wasn't that bad. It wasn't. How did his boots taste, sir?
Bruh.
It looked like they were running wide open because they were.
What do you mean it looks like they're open?
So I just want you to understand that's where this interview started, or this press conference question started.
When I looked back on it on Sunday, from the sideline, it looked like some of their receivers were just running wide open. But when you go back and look on tape, it wasn't that bad. Guys were in the vicinity, and they made good plays. They had pretty good guys at receiver.
Well, you're a homer is the first part, because they were running wide open. You're wanting to make it look better, and honestly, they were running wide open. Now,
I asked for it.
well, it's all right. We're honest here. I mean, there's no reason anybody should come to these press conferences if we're going to bullshit each other. So the point being is that they were running wide open, and the good news is this, Robert, is it's fixable. You're a homer is the first part.
Bro, like
when the head coach calls out the softball question, they were running wide open. And I think, and we've talked a lot about Alan Bowman and Ollie Gordon and the wide receivers, and
because it's garbage.
I think the biggest problem for Oak State and why they're not number 1 in the power rankings right now in the Big 12 is because their defense has really struggled.
Mm-hmm.
And I stand on business when I tell you my firm belief is that Arkansas gave them that game. And when you have expectations, and Oak State fans or any Big 12 fan, I think you would agree, the expectations were that Oklahoma State was going to compete for the conference championship this year. We have not seen a conference championship caliber football team.
Mm-hmm.
Not in Stillwater. And I'm a little surprised that is the single biggest issue that I have, is that we're week 3 now, and we have not seen very good football from Oak State at any point during this season.
Well, and everyone in our, not just during the show, but like as like yesterday, as the day went on, everyone was like, oh, well, you guys just hate Oklahoma State. You guys should stop crying. Like, you guys just don't like Gundy. Yeah, I don't respect Mike Gundy. I don't think he's done a good enough job. It's questions like this, and I appreciate that Mike, kind of called this reporter out a little bit and had some fun with him. I appreciate that, because he is a homer. The reporter is a homer and is someone that's going to ask you softball questions. So I appreciate Mike doing that. But But the reality is you're not going to get away from the fact that you needed overtime to beat Arkansas, that you played a game with Arkansas that was in question until like the very last second.
Right.
And that's what I think Oklahoma State fan doesn't necessarily want to talk about. And I get that. And I respect the fact that you're, what are you, 2-0 right now, and you're technically still in it. But
yeah.
But if you think that in 2 weeks, not this week, but next week, you're going to, welcome Utah into Stillwater, and you're going to be able to do the same thing against Utah you did against Arkansas, you're up in the night, because you'll lose by 20 plus if you do.
Well, and then there is Cam Rising in the Utes, doubtful for the Utah State game, which means Isaac Wilson gets to start at Utah. Should the Utah Utes be worried about this? And I don't see how you're not. I obviously, a team like Utah State that's not very good, Isaac Wilson, the backup, should be able to slide in there, even as a true freshman. He should be able to slide in there and carry this offense enough to let the defense win this game. I don't know that you loved a whole lot of what you saw of Isaac Wilson against Baylor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a little concerning. And Cam, these fingers, apparently on his throwing hand, it's his middle two fingers. There is not a serious injury. Kyle Whittingham pretty much said there's not a serious injury related to that.
Yeah.
I don't know why you would play him, and I guess you would not, unless he is 80-90% with that finger. And Isaac Wilson, I mean, this is a kid that, for those of you who don't know, he played at one of the best football programs in the country, a high school called Corner Canyon. They just beat IMG Academy about 2 weeks ago. It is a highfalutin powerhouse athletic high school, and he was the best player on the best football team. He didn't look the part against Baylor, I'll be honest with you. I think you absolutely should be worried there.
Mm-hmm.
If you are said all of that, is the best in the Big 12. I don't think there's any doubt it's Utah.
Yeah, well, I think that's the luxury that Utah has. So, like, I would agree they're the best team in the Big 12, but I think this Utah State situation, you don't need. So, first of all, if you're not familiar with Utah State as far as their position in the state of Utah in the football scene, Utah State's the little brother that wants to be a pain in your ass when you play them, and
they're scandal ridden.
And yeah, they're
not
lost your coaching
staff.
Now. Yeah, there's kind of a lot this particular year going on with their program. So
the dumpster's on fire up in Logan,
100%. And for me, I like worried. I feel like is strong with Cam. I think you're not playing him in this game because you don't have to play him in this game to win this particular game. Now, if he was healthy, would he be playing? Yes, certainly. But again, if you can skate by on a true freshman and probably one of the best defenses in the country, why wouldn't you do that? I have no doubt, dude. Cam Rising, if dude can walk and throw a football, he's going to play against Oklahoma State. Like this is because this is the final ride. There is no next year. There is no, there is no free passes. We don't get to redemption year next year. That's not how it works. So I have no doubt he will play.
Who's the second best team in the Big 12? I think that is the big question here. In my opinion, it's not Oklahoma State. I think the candidates, Arizona, there's been too much up and down there.
Mm-hmm.
TCU, I thought that game at Stanford was wildly underappreciated, undervalued. I thought that was a good win for them. But was there a better win this past week than Iowa State going to Iowa and winning the Cyhawk and finally in the second half they figured out they have a quarterback and back to can throw the football, which was frustrating watching the first half of that game. I think I can make a pretty compelling argument that Iowa State is the second best team in this league right now. And again, nobody's winning a national championship today. I think we're very young in the season and we're not getting real good looks. But if there was a better win than Iowa State in this conference last week, I don't know who it would have been.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Iowa State was an underdog going to Iowa City, and I think they got their job done. And it's because I felt like they opened up the offense enough to let Beck throw the ball around. which I think you have to do. Take note, Aaron Roderick at BYU. I think that is a really good win, and I think that's why Iowa State's the second best team in the conference today.
Yeah, I those are all great points. I think the problem for the Big 12 is that there isn't a clear-cut number 2. I
agree with. Yeah,
I think that Iowa State right now is a great candidate for it based on what you did. I think a lot of people who don't maybe cover football week in and week out be like, oh, well, Arizona State. But the problem with Arizona State is who you were playing and how that game went down. And I don't think you have the quality to keep up at the top of the conference. So, logically and reasonably,
believing that Arizona State is the second best team in this conference is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, you can't say it. And so then, you start looking around the conference and you're like, okay, well, K-State's obviously got to be brought up. And,
but the problem is and I know that this pisses everybody off, but what have we seen from Avery Johnson so far?
Yeah, I mean, not what you wanted to see. And
we've seen the results of a very young, untested, unproven quarterback.
And everyone wants to say, oh, well, we're in a good spot. Like, we won the game. Like, yeah. And it's like, yeah, that might be true, but it matters how you win the game at this time of year. We've said this repeatedly for the last 2 weeks, that it's not just that you won the game.
No.
It's throwing for, around 200 yards, averaging 6 yards an attempt or 7 yards an attempt. Like, you were not anything special, or you didn't stand out in that game. And so that's why I say, like, I really do believe right now the conference is Utah and everybody else. I think that everybody else portion of the conversation has to define itself. It should be Oklahoma State. But unfortunately, I can't say that when you struggled to beat Arkansas. You just can't say that.
Yeah, and I think there's a very interesting race for fourth, because I think Oklahoma State's third. I think I would put Utah, Iowa State, Oklahoma State, and I think you've got to probably go K-State fourth. I think that's where I would go. And then the fifth one, I think, is an absolute toss-up. That could absolutely be UCF, who I don't think gets enough respect. Now, they haven't played anybody, but their stats are gaudy. I think TCU. I think I probably would lean TCU at 5 because of that win at Stanford. I think that's a good win for a team that nobody knew, in a quarterback with Hoover that nobody knew what to expect. I think TCU deserves a lot of credit for playing well. And then I think at 6 or 7, I think you got to put BYU there. I think you got to put Arizona there. Arizona's kind of been an enigma right here at this moment. I don't know what that offense was this past week. It's a little concerning, but I think you could put them in the middle. And I think BYU surviving at SMU, I think they deserve a huge tip of the cap because they survived and moved on. And I think that's all you're trying to do in this tournament. That's all you're trying to do, is you are trying to survive these early weeks to get to conference play undefeated. That is Utah's job this week. I mean, obviously, Utah and Oak State are heading for this collision in 2 weeks. Your job is to win the game this week and have Cam Rising as close to 100% as you can have him.
Well, and again, that's one of those games, too, where I'd even go as far as to point out that, the conference can't have Utah lose that game. I mean, with how these two programs have looked so far, like, you can't have a situation where Utah loses a game they probably shouldn't lose, honestly.
Yeah.
And then the conference is stuck with just the conference champion and nobody else getting into the playoff. And I'm telling you, that's what's at stake in this Oklahoma State, Utah matchup is getting multiple teams in to the college football playoff. Because if Utah loses that game, man, that's not good. That basically means that they have to win the conference. And at that point, I still don't know that Oklahoma State's a college football playoff team.
All right, before we get to your comments, now we get to go to the fun part of the power rankings. Who's the worst team in the conference? Man, how is it not Texas Tech? A humiliating loss. And if you are not calling for Joey Maguire's lid right now, I don't know what you're looking at in Lubbock.
Mm-hmm.
I think Texas Tech has to be there. Kansas certainly has to be there. What a massive disappointment Jeff Grimes has been at Kansas. I don't know how you...
Yeah.
I don't know how you explain what, like with Jalen Daniels. A terrible loss at Illinois. How do you explain that loss? Illinois is solid. They shouldn't be better than a preseason team that had dreams of winning this conference in Kansas, which now we know are complete fabrications.
Right.
And I'm the guilty party. I bought in hook, line, and sinker. And now you're going to have to call. I think it's either Texas Tech or Kansas, because I don't know how you explain it.
So I think the reason it's not Colorado is because Colorado is an upstart program still. They're still in the beginning of their process. They are clearly improving. And if Colorado and Texas Tech matched up, I'm not confident Texas Tech could win that ball game. Can't confidently say that. I think that would be incredibly entertaining game. And I think that would be very close. But yeah, I mean, right now it's unfortunate, but yeah, I think you have to have Tech as the worst team in the conference just because of what we saw.
I think it's Texas Tech's the worst. K-State would be 15th. Cincinnati, that was a hugely disappointing loss. What a collapse. I would have Cincinnati 14th. Something like that. I think Texas Tech's the worst team in the conference.
Yeah, so Tech is the worst, then Kansas, then Cincinnati.
I think Houston is better than Colorado. And I mean, I can't. Are you telling me that Kansas isn't better than Houston and Colorado? Maybe they're not. I don't know. Maybe they're not. I think Baylor has shown more fight.
Dude, I think we have to be careful to, with our reaction to these losses. Illinois is not, certainly they should have beat Illinois, but Illinois is also not just a cupcake place to go and play.
Kansas looked terrible.
I know.
Kansas looked.
But if I said to you, who do you have more confidence in bouncing back, Kansas or Tech? I'm going to say Kansas.
Kansas.
Who do you have more confidence in? Going out and finding another win ASAP. It's not Texas Tech. I'm not confident. The only thing I'm confident in with Texas Tech is Bear Morton's ability to throw for 300 yards.
The only thing I'm confident in is they're going to drop 8 and lose games.
Yeah.
Joey McGuire is an abject failure at Texas Tech.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you fix that. There's no way to unwind that. There just isn't. Steve Stepanek, Colorado, I don't think is good. Well, and this Shedeur Sanders or Shiloh Sanders' broken arm
doesn't help.
Brutal. Mike Smith, did they ever give a reason why she was fired?
No. You're talking about homegirl West Virginia? Or I'm sorry.
Pitt.
At
At Pitt? No, she was fired for cause. So she did something, or there was something. James, it's good that Cam's backup will get some snaps and get him some experience. Well,
if you win the game, it's good.
Yeah.
Which you should.
Yeah, and I agree, Derek. It's a trap game, no doubt. UW fan Jim, is Sam Heward healthy? He is, but he's third. I mean, Isaac Wilson should be a
dude. If he doesn't ball out
big performer,
I would be surprised.
He is really talented. Really talented. Sam Heward isn't the future. Isaac will get the snaps. He's the future. Totally agree. Absolutely. Scott C. West Virginia. This week, Utah, Iowa State, Arizona State, Oak State, K-State, AZ. How good is Arizona? Were you guys surprised about their lack of offense? I was a little surprised by that.
Mm-hmm.
TCU, BYU. Yeah, I was a little surprised by that. Oak State, James, my rankings right now. Utah, K-State, Oak State, Iowa State, UCF.
Now,
That's
how much of the upper deck projects influence your rankings?
Well, yeah, I mean, at UCF, are you consulting them on new S&M seating, or
what about the quality of the rollers at their stadiums? I mean, obviously that's going to play a big part in your power rankings.
I am so excited to not see an upper deck when I'm golfing at Rice-Eccles Stadium on Saturday. I'm really stoked for that. I'm actually really excited to play golf inside Rice-Eccles Stadium.
Yeah,
Saturday.
that'll be cool.
I'm really excited for that. Really, really excited for that. Weird that they just found any issue. Background checks should have caught that before she was hired. Really have no info on it. Just seems odd, the timing. Well, I don't know that we'll ever know.
It's not dude. It's not background check related, bro.
No.
You did something to get your ass run out of
there. Something's amiss, and I don't know that we'll know. And maybe, if there's something in her background, maybe that's why she was up for multiple other jobs and she didn't get those jobs. Who knows? James, K-State went on the road and beat Tulane in New Orleans. That's not easy, right? But you have the world's greatest quarterback.
Hold on. But I thought that the SC loss, James, was some travesty. That was a terrible loss.
Boy, you're never going to let that go.
No, hell no, I'm not letting it go. I'm holding K-State fans and supporters' feet to the fire on it, because you want to say that, we went in and we won the ball game, but then it doesn't work that way, dude. You don't get a free pass. Like, you didn't look good against them.
Yeah. Ron Nolan, the worst comment by a coach ever. I think our defense has done a pretty good job. Prime said this at halftime. I thought they did a really good job.
Yeah, I don't. What do you mean that's the worst comment ever, dude?
I think, especially in the second half, their adjustments were really good. The offense could not get a first down. The offense continued to put the defense on the field without Shiloh, who is the quarterback of their defense. I thought their defense played really well.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't hold them to 10 points or something, but they kept you in the game if you could do anything on offense.
Yeah, and I think what you're seeing is they have pretty solid linebacker play, and their D-line is better, but still not good, and they're still able to hold, because I thought Dylan Raiola was really good out of the gate, and I thought in the second half Colorado's defense was much, much better.
Mm-hmm.
James, who is a stadium guy and loves the Big 12. Gundy is doing what he always does. It tries to play vanilla offense because he wants to save offense. No.
You're a homer is the first part.
Not at all. That was not vanilla offense. You did not have the ability to move the Arkansas defensive line. You're not playing vanilla offense to hide what you're capable of,
dude,
when you're getting trounced by Arkansas. And your offensive line could not move their defensive tackles. And the way they filled the B gap, absolutely. The way they kept an edge, Arkansas's D-line did a great job of keeping an edge, which didn't allow Ollie to get outside. Notice on the 2-point conversion, how did they get it to Ollie Gordon? They threw it to him. That they were not being vanilla. They were not a chance. Part of the standard vanilla offense are to use your best players in the run game, not giving away secret sauce there. You might want to give the ball to Ollie Gordon.
Hold on, bro. Like,
Big Blue Horses. If Grandpa Rising isn't 100, the Utes should be very worried, because the game looks bigger than the freshman who didn't have a spark of grasping the game last week. I don't disagree with that.
Also,
at all.
his first game, though, like, I agree. He was underwhelming. He was not. He didn't live up to the hype. That doesn't mean he won't find his footing against Utah State. Like, I think that this is what we love to do. This is the same nonsense with Tom Brady. Oh man, you're garbage, Isaac Wilson. You're terrible. You're Garbo. Like, go play for someone else. You're terrible. We don't need you. And it's like, dude, he's played one game. Like, give the guy a second to get comfortable at game speed, and then let's pass judgment on him after he's got a couple hundred snaps under his belt. And then let's see, what are the yards per attempt? What's the completion percentage? How many points are they putting up? Like, I just don't think we should be passing this harsh a judgment. Was he underwhelming? Yes. But that doesn't mean I don't believe the kid can come back and pop off against Utah State. Like, I would not be surprised if Utah dropped 30 with Isaac Wilson on Utah State. That wouldn't be surprising at all.
I would agree. Steve Sapanik, do you think the quarterback will stay at Tulane or enter the portal to be a better conference at school? I think Darian Mensah is a hell of a quarterback. And it's your quarterback is always in danger. I mean, I think Will Howard ending up at Ohio State proves that point. But Mensah had a great game with 300-something yards. He's a really good quarterback. I think he's a freshman. So, he's going to be able to write his ticket, I would think. But let's see what he does the rest of the year. Worst team, Derek says, is Colorado. I don't think Colorado. I think Colorado is better than Texas Tech. In my opinion. Baylor's the worst team. I don't know about that. With Notre Dame out of the playoff, the SEC 4 teams, Big 10 4, Big 12 2, ACC 1.
Okay, but who are the two from the Big 12?
Who are the big two from the? Yeah, who are the two from the Big 12? I think it's going to be very difficult for the ACC to get 2 teams in.
Yeah, I think what we should be saying is, does the SEC get 5 in?
Yeah,
Like,
because I don't think there's any doubt that the SEC is the best football conference in the country. You don't have to like it, but these projections are not wrong. I mean, you're looking at Bama, Ole Miss, who nobody's talking about, Georgia, Texas, Tennessee, Missouri. Like, you're looking at, can you guys count? Are you Marcus Freeman or can you count? You're looking at 6 SEC teams there.
or half.
Half. That's a lot of SEC teams. And you're looking at the Big Ten getting, SC and Pedo State, Ohio State in. I mean, you're out of your mind.
I think it's much more like 5 or 6 for the SEC, 3 from the Big Ten, 1 from the Big 12.
1 from the Big 12.
And then the G5.
I think you're 1 from the Big 12, 1 from the ACC. And I think you look at the top 10 is 6 SEC teams.
Yeah, man. As it should be. They're earning that.
Yeah, but my opinion is Oregon is not one of the top 10 teams in the country.
Yeah.
That I struggle with. But I don't know that if Oregon and USC played today on a neutral site, if they played at AT&T Stadium in Dallas, I'm probably leaning towards SC.
Probably.
Which is shocking at this point. So I don't see how the Big 12 or the ACC gets 2 in. I think that'd be very difficult. The SEC will get into Ohio State, and a G5 team will be the other 2. Oops, Big 10, he means. Yeah, that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting. Eric and Raleigh, does the SEC get 8? I think there's a chance. How good is Missouri? How good are they? I think they're very good. How good is LSU? Can LSU hang around? I don't know. Do you get 2 G5s in? Probably not.
No.
Probably not.
No, there's too much talent at the P4 level.
I just think it's very clear.
I just think the SEC is so deep. I mean, you can legitimately make the argument that, hey, like our mid-level, our Missouri is better than anything in the ACC outside of Miami and is better than, K-State, Oklahoma State, would contend with Utah on the same foot. Like it's just not that hard to see. Like,
I agree.
Hey, 6+ for the SEC, 3 for the Big Ten, 1 out of the Big 12 in the ACC, and then your G5.
But again, and I don't mean to keep going back to the Gundy drum, but isn't this why Mike Gundy is such a disappointment at Oak State? And I understand the offense is sputtered and Alan Bowman's not a top quarterback, but that's not their biggest issue against Arkansas. Jaquindon Jackson ate you for lunch running the football. Oh, you 3 touchdowns, I think. I mean, your defense is arguably a bigger problem through the first couple of weeks than your offense is. You heard Gundy say it. Their wide receivers are you do a good job of pushing the wide receiver to the boundary on the sideline, and then you just allow them to run inward.
Yeah,
and there's no safety there. Who are you, Joey McGuire? Dropping 8 when you're getting run all over. The state of Texas is such a big disappointment in the Big 12 right now. And I continue to say Texas Tech, 8 ball down at Baylor. Huge disappointments. TCU needs to be good.
I will say one positive on 8 ball is that his boys are playing hard for him. Like
I would agree.
Did play hard.
They are
against
competing.
Utah.
They are competing in a very difficult spot. Caleb Aylmore. James, it's okay to say Casey Dunn sucks, the offensive coordinator at Oak State. I honestly think he has something on Gundy. Why else would he still be there after so many seasons of disappointment? Dude. And again, the offense isn't. The problem with Oak State's offense is unimaginative.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's so unimaginative, just turn around and hand the ball to Ollie Gordon.
But again, what did you just say 10 minutes ago? You couldn't move Arkansas's defensive line.
It's wild to me. Wild to me. James, no one is getting 5 or 6 teams in the playoff. Okay. 4 SEC, 4 Big 10, 2 Big 12. You can't make an argument that 2 of the Big 12 teams get into the playoff.
Who's the second Big 12 team?
2 Big 12 are Utah and the winner of K-State, Oak State, Week 5. Week 5 is meaningless. And James, I love you, but this is your Preston Stone argument.
Stay hard.
Oh my God, Preston Stone, bro. He got benched. And what I'm trying to tell you is Week 5 matchups don't determine who goes to the college football playoff.
It determines who may not if you are Notre Daming a game.
What I'm trying to tell you is that if we have not learned anything, then we're going to make the same mistakes trying to predict this. What I continue to tell you is Utah and Oak State has far more impact on this, with the loser probably not getting in. But you can't tell me from what you've seen that Oak State's anything less than 3 losses. Because I don't think there's any way, almost no matter what happens this weekend, unless there's a major injury, that you can favor Oak State hosting Utah in 2 weeks. Because Oak State's defense can't hold a candle to Utah's defense. And Cam Rising is a superior quarterback with better wide receivers and a better tight end than you have at Oak State. And the only thing you have is Ollie Gordon, but your offensive line has been bad. Even when they try like zone principles on the offensive line, they still can't even zone run.
Mm-hmm.
So we can sit here and we can argue about 3 seconds on the clock. The issue is whoever loses that Oak State-Utah game likely has a very difficult path back to the college, the Big 12 championship and the college football playoff. Because I am still of the opinion that no matter who you are, you're going to lose games you shouldn't lose. And I don't see any way that Oak State loses less than 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any way that BYU wins more than 6-7 games. I don't see how Kansas is at all in consideration for a conference championship appearance.
Let alone the CFP.
I think the thing that you're hanging your hopes on in Manhattan with K-State is that Avery Johnson's going to get better with every snap he takes. Because right now we are seeing far too much of a guy that looks inexperienced and not ready to be a number 1. But we see these flashes. And that's what you have to hang your hat on. Because I don't think Arizona State, Colorado, I think there's 2 or 3 teams capable of winning this conference, and Oak State's not one of them. Not with what we've seen so far. And if you think I'm off on that, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. We're an hour and a half in, and we have not talked about the Jets game and how it makes Aaron feel lonely. I know. We just don't.
What a terrible show, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly.
Awful. Only the Iowa OC is worse than Zach Kitley, bro.
See, this is why college football is so awesome.
Casey Dunn or Zach Kitley. Because if I look at the stats in the Big 12, yeah, I don't understand. Zach Kitley's not the problem. Hey, Barron, throw the ball further because we're dropping 8 next time the defense goes out. We're gonna need 6 here.
Big time zone concepts on the D line this week. All right,
and Big Lubbock. I would love to hear this. You're really talking about your offense. You're really talking about. I don't.
Didn't they put up 53?
And Baron Morton is arguably a top 5 quarterback in the conference, and you're ripping Zach Kitley.
Yeah, wasn't it like 53 points on like 350, 360 for Baron Morton?
Because I am unsure of what you are referencing. Because if Baron Morton was my quarterback at Notre Dame, we would be winning a national championship this year.
100%. Yeah. I don't think that's exaggerating. I think that's true.
That's true. No, it's not exaggerating.
That's true.
You're goddamn right it's true. And I continue to try and tell people, Texas Tech fan, I understand you're decimated and you're damaged.
It's my quarterback.
As you should be. You're lucky not to be 0-2.
It's really unfair.
But if you're complaining about Baron Morton being 64 of 100, he's thrown the ball 100 times. For 700 yards, 64. He's thrown the ball 100 times. He's completed 64% of his passes.
Hey, pull up Oklahoma State.
6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, only 2 sacks. And he's rated 138.7, and you're complaining. And they didn't have Taj Brooks last week. And you're complaining about the offense? And you wonder why I want to talk about Tyreek Hill.
I don't give a Bears fuck.
You gave up 37 to Washington State because you drop 8 every. Okay, 3rd and 1. We're gonna drop 8,
but 1st and goal
from the 1. From the 1, we're gonna 1st and goal from the 1. All right, drop 8. Drop 8. Drop 8.
Cover the tunnel. The tunnel.
4th and 37 in Laramie last year. All right, full on blitz. Corners, safeties, linebackers, fuck them. Everybody. Excuse my French. Everybody's blitzed. And you're complaining about the offense? What's that defensive scheme called? Drop 8. Elisa Tuiaki, please. Like, are you out of your mind?
Bro.
Well, Monty's triggered because you're complaining about the offense in Lubbock. Oh, my God.
This is the problem in Tortilla Land. This is the problem. How are you complaining about the offense, man? Like, damn.
Zach quit on the running game too early because he's got Baron Morton.
You're out of your freaking mind.
My balls hurt. I try so hard.
So did Joey's.
Do you understand that you ran the ball 27 times for 148 yards and you average 5.5 yards per carry?
Yeah,
and do you understand that Washington State scored 20 points in the second quarter? 20 points. You're down 27-10 going into the third quarter. Oh, my bad. You were down 34-10 going to the fourth quarter, and he quit on the run? Bro. Yeah, I don't know anything about football. The run sets up the pass.
Okay, dude.
Midweek Coug, Washington State going to the playoff. I love it. Screw the nickel. We're going hateful 8 deep. Coach. We're on the verge of winning this. It's Joey McGuire, Monty. I don't know what to do on defense. I'm thinking about dropping 8. What's the down and distance? 1st and goal from the 1 inch. Sounds good to me, Coach. Are you sure? Yeah, because I think you should be fired. So keep dropping 8. All right.
Why don't you fuck off?
Thanks, Marty. Come on, man. Eric and Raleigh. It's the prevent my team from winning defense.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
The big Lubbock. Too many screen passes to the sideline. Not enough deep.
Dude,
you're wrong. I don't usually tell people they're wrong. You are completely wrong. Who are you, Michigan fan, that it was a lone wolf? You're wrong. The offense isn't the issue. Stop dropping 8. In all seriousness, if you're complaining about the offense.
But Monty, zone concepts, they lead to more interceptions, Come on.
Dropping 8. And you're complaining. Oh, my God.
That's pretty much self-explanatory.
I got this guy last night that as an acquaintance of mine, is texting me talking about how bad Aaron Rodgers' mobility looks.
Yeah.
What do you think of that, Jake?
Yeah, I agree.
Jake is texting me last night. Oh, Aaron Rodgers looks like he can't move.
Yeah, he looked old. He did. Now, what did you say? Well, it'll get better as the game goes on, and it did. It did. But I don't know. I felt like it looked like he was being very careful with the way he was moving early in this game. And, which is fine. They were running the ball a lot. He was just handing it off. Like, they weren't really asking a ton of him. But I got to tell you, if you're a Jets fan, Aaron Rodgers is not your problem. Like
No.
that wide receiver room needs to catch the football.
And it would be nice if Sauce Gardner would keep playing the game. Hey, I will just continue to espouse my awesomeness as we talk NFL football on the Monty Show, presented by Canyons Golf. Canyons Golf, the official golf club of the Monty Show. Cannot wait to get back up to the mountains of Park City this weekend. The weather is going to swing wildly this weekend here in the great state of Jeddah. I believe tomorrow it's going to be a high of 68. And this weekend we're going to be back up into the 70s. It's going to be a beautiful weekend for golf up in Park City. We have about 5 weeks left in the season. Come on out. Join me at Park City Mountain Resort, Canyons Golf this weekend. Cannot wait to get back up. Always concerts in the village. Great dining experience. Go play yourself 18 holes at Canyons Golf and then get into Park City Mountain Resort, Canyons Village. Great Mexican spot at the bottom of the Pendry building. Beautiful modern amenities. Brand new construction that's less than a year old. It is modern. It is beautiful. It is picturesque. It's everything you want in great mountain golf at Canyons Golf in Park City. Book online. Just Google search Canyons Golf, Park City. You can book your tee times online. Resort style golf, municipal prices. Tell them you heard about it on the Monty Show. As we talk the National Football League, I thought Aaron Rodgers looked rusty throwing the ball. I don't think it helped that their offensive line was Garbo, and now it's the 49ers defense. You ran for 3.6 yards per carry. That's not good. And I think the other issue is that Aaron Rodgers clearly has his favorites in the passing game. And one of those is Alan Lazard. They know each other. They're comfortable with each other. I get that. You've got to get Garrett Wilson the football in space. And until you're willing to do that, and until you're willing to get him open in the seam, down the seam, Aaron Rodgers is going to struggle because it's very difficult to not play in 2 full years, which essentially is what it's been, and then come back and be precise in the underneath game. And he was not accurate underneath. He was really good over the top, and they just never gave him the opportunity because they were so far behind because, oh my God, Christian McCaffrey, Jordan Mason went absolutely ham in this game. And I think the 49ers looked every bit of the best team in the NFC.
Yeah, I just thought the execution was at an incredibly high level. And, you know, I've really come around on Brock as a QB and his ability and what he's able to do for them. Multiple times last night, play breaks down. He escapes, makes the throw. Huge play. Brandon Ayuk might want to catch the ball now that you got paid. There was just multiple times last night where you're sitting here saying, yeah, man, like this isn't even the 49ers best. Like I didn't think the 49ers played like an incredibly good game. The execution was pretty good. Obviously what you got out of the running back room was awesome. There were a lot of concerns with CMC being on the sideline. That was taken care of. So great job there. Overall, I still feel like Fred Warner is still a savage as a linebacker. Dropping dudes, hitting guys all over the place. Like you're still pretty much the same team you were. The only question is, what are you going to do against Kansas City? Because you know that matchup is inevitable. You know that to get to where you want to go, you're probably going to have to beat those guys. And that,
I would agree,
me is the problem right now in the NFL. I loved watching that game last night. The Jets are about as hyped as you can be. And I think got humbled a little bit last night. And the 49ers, I think, are up and down. I think sometimes people are like, hey, this is one of the best teams in the league. And then other times people just don't talk about them for whatever reason. And all of a sudden they're getting a first round bye and they're in, the NFC Championship game with the blink of an eye. And you're like, hey, how did these guys get here so quickly? Like what did they do? But they're just consistent. They just do the same thing every year. They beat you the same way, and you can't overcome it because their talent is still super high. It's still elite. Whether it's, Kittle, I still think it's slowed down a touch, but is mostly the same dude. Like I said, Fred Warner, Brock Purdy,
Brocktober, please.
Bro, if you're an NFL organization, stop drafting the Daniel Joneses of the world. Stop messing it up. Like, start drafting guys that can move more, that are showing you, hey, I can throw at different arm angles, I can do these different things, and then develop that guy, because that's all they've done with Brock, and it's worked out famously.
And I think one of the other questions that has to be asked about Aaron Rodgers is how much is this rust impacting his game? And he did not play a single snap in the preseason, which I think is a big deal. He's going to have to get markedly better than he was this weekend. I think that is a major problem, because I think if we're being honest, you're never going to be Dak Prescott. Let's be honest. You're never going to get paid like the best quarterback in the NFL.
Now, we need to talk about Jerry Jones.
Jera?
Micah Parsons is probably the best player coming out of that game against the Browns. Just game record, just destroying them. And
I told you so Monday was yesterday.
I know, but it's bleeding into today, right? We're going to continue the train. And how long are you going to wait to pay Micah now? Because you waited till 2 hours before the game, or whatever, 4 hours before the game, and you get the Dak contract done. Obviously, you got Lamb done. Now it's Micah's turn. And I'm just telling you, if you don't have Micah and he hits free agency, that's a huge, huge loss for this team.
Do I believe that you should be paying your quarterback $231 million guaranteed and $60 AAV? I don't. But this is who the Cowboys are. They routinely make bad decisions. And I think letting this go this long cost Jerry Jones probably $10 million
a year.
And I think that you're giving Dak Prescott $231 million. I think he's an elite thrower of the football. I think he's one of the most accurate passers in the NFL. And I think you still haven't addressed the offensive line at the level you need to. I think their defense is savage. That secondary is elite. I think Micah Parsons is amazing. I think DeMarcus Lawrence is one of the best run stoppers. And I don't know who you're going to throw the ball to, because CeeDee Lamb is well paid as he is. I think he is another drop guy.
Had to be 5 or 6 of them.
And I'm just very curious to see, where does this offense go? And Dak will take the heat. Why does he care? He's getting 231.
But he doesn't play for the money. It's not about the money for Dak. And, as he said, right? It's not about the money.
I think that was very interesting. Caleb Williams won his NFL debut, and really at this point in our trajectory, because it's us, I'm the 59th guy on the bench. The Chicago Bears.
The Bears.
Was he elite? He was not. But did he show you enough to believe he is the quarterback of the future? He did. And the good news is, I feel like this defense was absolutely stunning. They got pressure on Will Levis. I felt like they forced him into mistakes. And Caleb did not make that death knell of an interception or a bad throw. It's a little concerning that Jim Romadunze is out for probably a month now with this MCL sprain, which looked ugly when he limped off the field. I was pretty well concerned about that. And now I'm glad it's not a tear. He got rolled up on something fierce. And I'm a little concerned that, if we're really looking at Caleb Williams and his performance, Caleb Williams, in my opinion, did not get help from his wide receivers. And Allen dropping that touchdown completely changed the complexion of that stat line. If he catches that touchdown, we're talking about Caleb Williams being a hero. And I think that that's what has got to get cleaned up. But again, the play calling was not good. Your head coach is a defensive guy who's more concerned about the defense. And this offense, in my opinion, will continue to sputter until Matt Eberflus is not the head coach. Now, I hope I am completely wrong. I hope that Eberflus wins a Super Bowl as the head coach of the Chicago Bears. That would be far less painful. But I don't have high hopes. And I love what I saw out of Caleb Williams. DJ Moore's a stud. Cole Kmet's a stud. This offensive line is an absolute disaster. And I think Caleb Williams is the exact right guy for this town.
Yeah, I thought that, so generally I agree. He did enough to show he's quarterback of the future. I think a couple of things. One, his clock in the pocket is a little bit too quick right now. I agree the offensive line is not great, but there were some times where I felt like, hey, you left the pocket too soon. You kicked it out too soon. And I think that led to some risky throws. Now, he didn't throw the interception, like you said, and I agree with that. But I think he's got to dial that in a little more, and that'll get improved as he plays more regular season games. And then the other thing was he just missed a couple of deep balls. Keenan Allen needs to catch that touchdown. That should have been a touchdown all day, but he did miss a couple of deep balls that you would expect him to make. So I think the biggest win, and the way I like to describe it, as all the things he didn't do, he will start doing. Those will improve as he plays more. We're not talking about like, oh man, he was just terrible, and this was a huge mistake to draft him. Nobody is saying that. What they're saying is, hey, we need improvement here or there.
We need to call a game plan that sets him up to succeed. And I understand you want to run the ball, but don't go away from the run when your rookie quarterback is trying to break 100 yards in a game, and he's got wide receivers consistently dropping passes.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go away from the run. And I understand also that you were trailing. Thankfully, the defense came through. Best things you saw this weekend. Who's the best team you saw this weekend?
Dallas. I think Dallas is the best team I saw.
I think it's Dallas or the 49ers. I'm really worried about Joe Burrow.
Well,
I'm really concerned about Joe Burrow. 164 yards, and he never looked like he had any idea what was coming. And I was really surprised that the Pats defense was that good. I'm shocked at how many points the Saints put on the Panthers. That was kind of that you had 3 scores and 200 yards out of Derek Carr was really impressive. That was impressive. And I think the Dallas Cowboys and the San Francisco 49ers are the 2 best teams I saw in football this week.
Mm-hmm.
I think no doubt that the Lions, that defense is going to have to clean up a little bit more. You can't allow Matthew Stafford to throw for 300 yards, especially without Puka Nacua. When Puka Nacua is not playing and he's hurt, you can't give up 300 yards.
Yeah, how is Cooper Kupp able to run the out route consistently?
It's a little surprising. I think one of the biggest storylines this week, the Philadelphia Eagles are not good. That offense is dysfunctional, and Jalen Hurts looking like a very average quarterback. If you do not have Saquon Barkley going for 109 and 2 scores,
mm-hmm.
you would have lost that game. You would have lost that game. I thought that was really concerning. I thought what we saw to Lamar Jackson, well, dude, I'm concerned. He's not going to last half the season running that much. And I was perusing the Baltimore Ravens schedule. The Raiders are next in Baltimore. That's a very physical defense. Then the Cowboys, then the Bills.
Is he healthy after that?
Well, if you're going to run 20 times, you're not going to be healthy after that.
Yeah.
Because those are defenses that are going to pound you.
Yeah, I think I would agree the Niners and the Cowboys right now are the best teams in the NFC. I think that, if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan, I wouldn't be thrilled with what you saw Thursday night. I mean, I wasn't exactly blown away. I think that the way you use Xavier Worthy was great. I would be using him that way too. I think, that jet sweep play where you give him a head start. We're seeing a ton of teams run that at the college level and at the NFL level. So I wasn't surprised they did that with Xavier, but I think his speed is truly elite. Can he stay healthy? He's healthy now. So we'll talk about it when he gets hurt. But for now, he's dynamite. I just think that the Chiefs, they're going to be there at the end of the year as they always are in their current setup. But I don't know. I want to see them. That they're going to need to show me that they can still dominate teams the way they had been the last couple of years. I want to see that a little more. I want to see, is Travis Kelce still capable? I mean, is this guy still able to do it at his age?
Well, and it's what I say about the Bears. I think that the tight end in today's NFL, the tight end has never been more important. Big catch by George Kittle last night.
Right.
The tight end has to be a guy that blocks but also receives really well and runs good routes. That, in my opinion, is something that every offense has to have a staple in. And whether you're Kansas City or, pick the best team that you saw.
Dude, Baltimore with their tight ends.
Andrews, I think Dallas has like Buffalo, the Bears with Cole Kmet. But I also think some of the teams that struggled a lot are the ones that don't have a great offensive line. It's what makes Sam Darnold and Jared Goff so effective this past weekend. They had pretty decent protection and a lot of room to throw the football. And it's going to be interesting to see how these patterns emerge. But I think Dallas, that Rams game was pretty damn entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
What do you make of this thing with the Lions, really quick? Painting the end zone the same color as their uniform. People say they did that to hide their defender.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that's why they're doing it.
Should that be allowed? Should that be legal?
It's wearing white shoes. I mean, is it? It's not illegal.
Yeah.
Because it's illegal.
Yeah.
It's not illegal.
Yeah.
Because it's illegal.
I think it's a smart play.
I don't break the rules.
I think it's a very smart play. And I think Detroit's in one of those situations where you got to win now because you have a lot of guys that are getting up in age. Jared Goff is not going to be elite forever.
Mm-hmm.
He is kind of not your prototypical successful NFL quarterback in that he's very much a statue. But their defense, I think, is better. Aiden Hutchinson's got to stay out of the neutral zone. And that penalty where he landed on Stafford's legs, how do you explain that? That is just a stupid play.
Yeah.
So Detroit's defense still has a propensity to give up those bigger plays and make those bigger mistakes. But I think this offense is very good right now. And the defense is clearly improved. But can a team that hasn't shown us over the last 2 years detail, can they clean those things up and play with detail? Because if Detroit does that, they're gonna win the NFC. If they do that. But if you keep the Rams in that game, you're going to keep other teams in the game, and that's going to be scary. They are the class of the NFC North. They're the best team in the NFC North. There's no doubt about that.
Yep.
But you've got to find a way to clean up these stupid little mistakes that keep the drive alive for the opponent. It is basic defense pass rush 101. You can't land at the quarterback's feet. Very basic. Doesn't matter if you're pushed into him. It doesn't matter. You cannot land at his feet. You cannot have your helmet in the neutral zone. It's a point of emphasis this year, unless you're Kansas City, and then your tackle's allowed to move a full second early, right? But you can't.
But to that end, hasn't Kansas City earned that?
But you can't have your helmet, Aiden Hutchinson, in the neutral zone.
Yeah,
can't do that. So we'll see. We'll see. Brandon Butler. All I want is Caleb not to F it up his rookie year. Small incremental improvements. That's all we need. That's it. This team's not going to contend for any kind of championship this year. You just need the Chicago Bears to develop. This defense will win you games most weeks. Caleb needs to possess the football. This is the Jake Retzloff conversation.
Yeah.
Don't fumble. Don't throw interceptions. And don't kill your defense.
And put it on your guy. Don't miss guys when they're wide open down the field.
And I think that's what we're seeing, that Caleb Williams has that ability. Now he's going to have to execute. And if he does that, I think you're going to be in a very good spot. You're going to be in a very good spot, and it'll be very interesting to see how the Bears, and if Shane Waldron, the offensive coordinator in Chicago, can evolve his play calling a little bit to help Caleb Williams, because you've got to use the running back. I'm not talking about turning around and handing the ball off 45 times. I'm not saying that.
Right.
Throw the quick out. Throw the slant.
Do what the Niners did last
Motion
night.
the back out of the backfield. But 20 times a game, turn around and hand it off. Allow Cole Kmet, a big physical tight end, to seal an edge for you. Right? Like, you don't always need the spectacular play. And Detroit and everybody else, handle the detail. Make sure that your offensive linemen, right, are setting an edge. On defense, make sure that your defensive end doesn't allow Lamar Jackson, leverage to get outside of him, right? Set your edges. Be fundamentally sound. That's all you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the Bears, you want to come second in this division, pay attention to the details, and you will. And you will. I don't have any doubt about that. UW fan Jim, you don't earn illegal advantages. Oh, in the NFL, you do.
Yeah, you do.
In the
you do.
in Major League Baseball, Greg Maddux is getting the corner and you're not. Just simple as that. In the NFL, you are, when they do it every single snap, you're not going to throw the flag every single snap. And until you do throw the flag every single snap, they're going to do it.
Now, are they going to call it in big moments so you don't have too much of an advantage? Yes, they are. But you're going to be able to manipulate that advantage most of the game. It's just making sure that when you're in a playoff game at Arrowhead against TB12, that you're not lined up in the neutral zone on defense and giving TB12 the game. That's what you can't do.
Well, because what are the hallmarks of a good defense? You're going to close the half out. You're not getting penalties in the red zone as a defense. You're not roughing the passer. You're gap sound. You have gap integrity on defense. You do not, one of the things that I think that the Bears defense does so well, they don't over pursue. You very rarely see Bears linebackers overrunning plays, right? You very rarely see Bears defensive ends giving up the integrity of the edge. Very rarely see that. You see guys like Jalen Johnson making plays on the ball. You're not getting PI because you're not turning around. You're running through a receiver. Like, those are hallmarks of good defenses. We see that sometimes, not all the time, with the Detroit Lions, which makes them vulnerable. You see that all the time with the San Francisco 49ers. We saw that all the time with the Dallas Cowboys. You took your best player in Micah Parsons and moved him all over the formation, which made it very difficult for them to adjust to you. And it won you a football game. And I think that when we look at these teams and we're talking about the top of the NFC, you're not turning the ball over and you're really sound and detailed on defense. That's why I think Dallas and San Francisco are the two best teams I saw this weekend.
And I also think their defenses have this layer of, like, they're looking to punish you a little bit. Like, I agree with all that, but I think the best defenses in the NFL are looking for that contact. They're looking to say, hey, like, if you're gonna expose your wide receiver over the middle, like, we're gonna hit him. You know,
totally.
Like, you're gonna pay a price.
All right, couple of things I want to get to real quick, dude. You guys got to stop spending your money on OnlyFans. Did you guys hear? Did you guys hear how much money OnlyFans is making? And their average creator, I think, only makes like $1,500, which tells you they spread this around. OnlyFans made its owner $472 million last year. Leo Radvinsky made $472 million last year on pornography, which is unreal. And when you start looking at it, in 2024, OnlyFans generated $6.3 billion in gross revenue, which is a $300 million jump from just 5 years ago, which is wild to me. Fiscal year revenue grew 19% from $1.1 billion year over year, 3 percentage points greater, which is bro, how much money are you spending on OnlyFans?
Yeah, I think people spend a lot of money on it.
Subscription revenue are only up 9% since 2021. Transactional spending is up 70% or $1.6 billion.
And again, I'm just going to keep saying this. And it's been OnlyFans' positioning statement for, basically since their inception. I don't even know when they started, but
it's wild.
The premise of that platform is not just that it's another site where you can go and get that type of content. That's not the premise. The premise is, hey, you can subscribe to that content on a creator by creator basis. And it's not just that allows you to view the content. It gives you a relationship, if you will, a way to communicate with the creator.
It's wild.
And it makes it feel personal for people.
So apparently, and I did not know this. I will Again, I think you guys know this. I believe pornography is a great destroyer of men.
Yeah.
I am not somebody that frequents OnlyFans. I've never subscribed or spent money on the platform. I was unaware until last night when I was reading this story. Transactional revenue. You can apparently pay a performer $5 and she'll do anything you want her to do in a photo, or maybe it's a him, in a photo or a video.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently these performers have a set price card. Hey, $20 will get you X, Y, and Z. Or if you subscribe, you get all of my content. Well, most people don't subscribe. What apparently most users of the platform are doing is paying performers to do this. Here's $5. Send me a video of you doing X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the money's coming from. And on the performer side of it, the OnlyFans performers are saying they don't have to go to a strip club. They don't have to work for a porn production company. And they're in a safe environment that usually is their home, where they're anonymous and nobody knows how to find them. So they feel safer, and they believe it gives them more integrity over their content, that their content has more integrity.
Right.
It's brilliant. If you are, because you look at the numbers, mathematically, the average creator has 74 fans who pay $24 per year or $2 a month, which sums up to $1,800 annually, of which $1,450 goes to the creator.
So clearly, based on those numbers, right, there is this again, I'm not a huge believer in this content. Clearly, it makes them money. Great. But clearly, based on the amount of money OnlyFans is making, there is, a bit of skill to this, right? Like, obviously, if you're someone who, is raking in cash, we always see these videos on social media, the OnlyFans model making 100 G's a month.
My wife just sent me a text she reminded me about an article we were supposed to talk about months ago now, I feel like. One of the keys to this is you can chat back and forth with the creator. So you like Jenny, who is a gymnast.
Mm-hmm.
You can chat back and forth with her, but it's not Jenny you're talking to.
Yeah.
Jenny is paying a service where John in Istanbul is answering her chats. His only job is to get you to spend money. And what Jenny does is she creates a stock of content. Hey, give me $5. I'll send you a picture of my
feet.
My feet. All right, cool. Here's $5. Johnny in Istanbul sends you a picture of Jenny's feet. You've never spoken to her. She's not all hot and bothered under the collar.
But you think you were talking to her.
But you think you were. And the best part is you have these stories about these dudes, and it's dudes in call centers and in hubs who are chatting with all these other dudes who think they're talking to Jenny, the gymnast.
Bro, imagine applying for that job.
But that's real. And what happens is you get fired from being the chat guy in Istanbul. Like this one guy's like, I got fired, or I think he resigned or whatever, because he was actually having real life conversations with these dudes who are like, my marriage sucks. My job sucks. I just need somebody to talk to.
Hey, why don't you go ahead and pay us $10 more and here you go.
Well, if you give me $5 and I'll send you a picture, of my nether regions, that'll help you with that problem. That'll help you with your jerk boss. Actually, we don't want you talking about their job. We want you talking about Jenny's feet, because that's what she's paying us for. And guys think they're talking to Jenny, and they're talking to John, who's in a call center in Istanbul.
Yeah,
it's
and
wild.
I'm curious. Obviously, this goes on at a high enough level that people are talking about it. But I'm curious for the top 5% of creators on OnlyFans. Is this something that they're using religiously, or is it, is it a thing where the best, because you have to find balance, right? Meaning that, okay, if you're going to pay like a call center type setup to do this, at some point people will figure it out.
I don't think they are. Guys are not figuring it out, because this transactional revenue is what's powering the growth at OnlyFans.
Yeah.
And I think the other part of this is OnlyFans lets you keep your money. If you make $1,800 a year, you're netting $1,450. Which if you go to whatever, I don't know the porn companies, but if you go to a porn company, they're paying you $300 to be treated not great.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to go to a porn company and do all kinds of terrible things. You actually get to keep most of your money and do whatever it is you want to do. And the top percentage users have a massive engagement rate. That's what the power is. Their engagement rates are unbelievable. The company counted an average of only 42 employees. So OnlyFans only has 42 employees, down from 61 during the pandemic. It generated $31 million in net revenue per employee. Like they are printing money. It is wild. Wild. The other part of this is the marketing. Elon Musk ended the platform's ban on pornography in 2024.
Yeah.
What are we seeing on? I see it all the time on Instagram. Hey guys, her OnlyFans is free right now. Like
they're all colluding, dude.
So it's this incestuous social media blender where these OnlyFans performers are paying. Like if you think about, I always see it on the viral video accounts where, hey, here's police videos, here's animals attacking people videos. And then once a day, I'm getting, here's Sherry Jones, her OnlyFans is free today. Well, the way that works is she pays them $500 per day for promotion.
Just playing the percentages.
So it's this big thing where, hey, I'm going to post some of my naughty videos on, I'm going to post just enough on the X platform because now I can post pornography there.
Right.
It's incredible the way that OnlyFans has gamed the system. And it is the other part of this. And I know you guys are going to think I'm like, oh, you're just being a jerk. I'm not. Here's a question for you. Are you lonely? Do you guys realize that a study has said that a ton of people now feel that they are lonely?
Mm-hmm.
And it is a lot of millennials. It is a lot of millennials that feel like they are lacking from interpersonal relationships.
Right.
And they are not able to find that, what is the right word? The fulfillment, if you will. You're not able to find the fulfillment that you need in life. So you go to OnlyFans and you talk to John in Istanbul, who you think is Jenny, the gymnast.
And I think the big problem is like we have such a comfort with being in our house all day. You know, like our culture changed from, hey, like I remember as a kid, like, go outside, go outside, go outside, you know, go outside.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that used to be the thing. And now it's changed. And, you know, there's studies that say, you know, Gen Z, the generation following millennials, is kind of reviving the whole bar scene culture, you know, really trying to kind of,
very much so,
you know, kickstarting socializing and being out more. And that's great. I love to hear that. I don't quite understand why my generation struggles with this so much, or why loneliness seems to be, you know, pervasive in the millennial generation. I don't know if it's just
almost a quarter of the world feels lonely.
Yeah. And so you look at like, you know, you look at this and you're like, damn, dude, like, is it just that, like, did the pandemic change people, or like
1 in 4 people worldwide feel very or fairly lonely, according to a Meta Gallup survey of more than 140 countries. The World Health Organization and many others calling attention to the dangers of loneliness. 10-point Gallup report, loneliness among older versus younger adults. Ages 15 to 18, 45% feel lonely. 19 to 29, 43% feel lonely. Are you ready? 30 to 44, the majority of millennials.
Yeah.
48% say that they do not feel lonely. 53% of 45 to 64, not at all lonely. Age 65 plus, 57%, not at all lonely. But here's the scary part for millennials. 25% of millennials say they're very lonely.
Right.
27% of 19 to 29, very lonely.
Yeah, I think the youngest millennials now are 28. I think is the cutoff.
15 to 18-year-olds, 25%, very lonely. 45 to 64, my generation, only 22%. 65 or older, only 17% say they're very lonely.
And that's just culture. That's culturally,
how we all grew up.
How you all grew up.
Yep.
It's what you guys are comfortable with. And I think that's the hard part is I don't know, like when it comes to stuff like this, how we change this. Like again, like I said, I love that Gen Z and younger folks are, it seems like, based on what I'm seeing, seem to be kind of kickstarting that socializing, getting out more vibe. And that's great. I love to see it. But I don't know. I think there's always going to be a sector of humanity that trends more lonely, that trends more like stay inside, do my own thing. And it's like what you were saying with these OnlyFans creators, like that's why it's doing so well, because you have a formula that works for everyone. You get to keep your money. You can do it from your house.
Death scrolling is at an all-time high.
Yeah.
On social media where I do it. It's at an all-time high. It's a formula. And the last thing I'll say about this porn loneliness thing, pornography drives loneliness.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in an intimate relationship and you are secretly watching pornography, if you are single and you are watching pornography on a daily basis, you're going to feel more lonely. You are going to feel more lonely. And it's just really unfortunate that that's where we've put ourselves. Eric and Raleigh, people aren't socially lonely, though. People who are social are not. I don't know what you mean by that. Mike Smith, when the TV became the babysitter, predated the computers and the smartphones. Yeah. I don't disagree with that. Brandon Butler, we have created a society where we don't need to leave the house. Shopping, dating, and socializing are all online, which isn't real. Totally agree.
But I also think, though, Brandon, like you're right about that. But I also think on the other side of that, we still have the ability to go out. That's the thing. Like we could still, like if people felt like, hey, I'm going to be proactive about this and go and try and do that, like it is possible.
Well, I can tell you recently, in recent weeks, I've been going out more than I've ever gone out. I went to this huge wedding over the weekend. I went the weekend before. I went to Hamilton. This weekend, I'm going to Rice Eccles to golf. I play golf on a regular basis with other people. Like I'm meeting new people that I've never met before more often than I ever have. It's a choice. It is a choice. And, one of the things Mrs. Monty and I talk about all the time is our health, losing weight and getting, like, it was awesome to put on a suit this weekend and have it be too big on me. But why is that? Because I'm not sitting at home death scrolling and watching TV, and I'm rarely at home on the couch. It must be less than a couple hours a day, maybe. Especially on the weekends, it might be a couple hours a day that I sit on it might be. But I'm either playing golf, or either going to a wedding, or going to Rice Eccles, or going to Hamilton, or the symphony, or
something.
Just being mentally stimulated helps you with that. And I think it is fascinating. The eye patch, 70% of OnlyFans accounts are in Utah County.
Okay. Typically, I don't love what you have to say, but that's funny.
Eric and Raleigh. People miss physical touch. There is a massive lack of physical touch from parents to kids, and it gets worse as we get older. I also think people are lazy. I think people don't like to date. I think we talked about this with you, like you're willing to settle in your generation for something less because you don't want to go out and work for something more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a huge problem. I think it is. And now I'm hoping that the pervasive return to office helps some of this. I'm hoping it helps some of this, because I'll be honest with you, I don't love working remote. I like being at home. I miss being in an office. I miss the social camaraderie of it all. But I don't miss, obviously I don't miss the commute, the gas, the hours in the car. Like I don't miss any of that.
Right.
But I miss the camaraderie of working around other people. I do. I miss going into a radio station every day. I miss going into a TV station every day.
Having the meetings.
And seeing people. Yeah, I miss that.
Yeah.
Like it's just one of those things where we tend to snowball our isolations. It starts with the pandemic, which turned into social media, which formed probably, I would, based on the statistics, pornography intake, boom, during the pandemic, which is not surprising. Fact is, being home is easy, which is why people do it. People don't choose hard ever. And everything you want is on the other side of hard. It is. Everything you want's on the other side of hard. And donuts, Zoom meetings suck. Just saying. I don't disagree with that.
Right.
I agree. All right. Before we get out of here, what do we expect out of this debate tonight? I think this is one of the most important moments in this election cycle.
I think it's one of the most important moments in American politics, honestly. Like
probably in the history of American politics.
Yeah, like I think it's that. And again, as I always say, not saying pro Donnie, pro Kamala. I'm saying in the big picture, this debate tonight is hugely important for the history of our country.
I think that this is the cooling impact of Kamala Harris's momentum out of the DNC because she has refused to do interviews. And at this point, that's all I can call it. She's refusing to do it. The Dana Bash thing was not an interview.
No.
She actually did a pretty decent radio interview yesterday morning, which I thought was interesting. But this is going to be her first real test in how she deals with counterpunching. And I think she's got to try and stay away from the mudslinging. Because Donald Trump, I think we all know what Donald Trump's going to do. He's going to insult her. He is going to insult her politics. He is going to say she's the death, that the economy was better. And the biggest thing, and I think the struggle that Kamala Harris is going to have, is not touting how strong the economy is now. Because he's going to come out and say that the economy is terrible. Well, the economy's not terrible. If you look at all the statistics, whether it's inflation, I think we're headed for deflation. We don't have high inflation anymore. The fact that we're oil independent, or all of the things that the economy is doing and that the Biden administration has created inside of this economy that she could be able to tout. I think it's going to be very difficult for her to tout that, because the American making less than $70,000, which is a huge amount of people, are not yet feeling a booming economy. Now, if you're making, the statistics say, if you're making $70,000 or more, and certainly $100,000 or more, you're not feeling inflation. You're not feeling an economic pinch. You're doing quite well. But if she's going to win the middle of the road voter, she can't say, well, the inflation, the economy's booming, because that's not what talks to the garden variety voter. So I think it's going to be really this fine line, this dance she's going to have to do. How does she deal with Donald Trump questioning her ethnicity? You decided to turn black. How is she going to deal with, he's clearly going to come out and attack her on Afghanistan, the withdrawal of Afghanistan.
Yep.
Will she have the composure to say, well, you're the one that started that process? And then how is she going to turn around and vilify Joe Biden to help herself in this debate? Because she's going to have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because unless she is able to, and I think it's got to be a core part of her strategy here, she cannot go, she can't be like, you're a liar, you're lying, that's not true, that's not true, that's not true, that's a lie. Because the reason Donald Trump does that, and he lies, like just spews the lies and the insults, is so that you waste your time telling him he's a liar and telling him that's not true.
Right.
What she has to do is, when he lies, she has to state fact. The economy's terrible. Well, in fact, the truth is we've created far more jobs. We have drilled more oil. We have become oil independent. We have this infrastructure package that is, by all accounts, Republican, Democrat, a home run. So she's going to have to talk about that. When he comes out and says that, she's against fracking, she has to be able to not only say, I am not against fracking, but I understand in the global economic natural gas sector, because I know most people don't probably give a rat's ass about this, but fracking is how we get natural gas. We know that we are a powerhouse when it comes to natural gas now. She's got to say that. She can't go into this, well, you're banning fracking. That's not true. I didn't say that. I'm not doing. You got to state fact. And his onslaught of lies and insults and calling her mean and nasty and she's unattractive and she's not black. If she stays away from that, this will be a win for her.
Yeah, I think that, in that process, like her being able to, because if she's going to win this debate, her win will be the contrast that she's able to create between her and Don, which is because, again, like you said, we know what he's going to do. So if he's saying those things, inherently those things are negative in tone and nature.
Yes.
And so if her game plan has to then be, hey, I'm going to try to sound positive and be on fact. And I'm going to try to build this contrast. And I think what's really going to be interesting coming out of this debate is what Fox News does, because Fox News, and we already know that CNN is hardcore fact checking and, leans Democrat. We know that. But Fox has done this thing where they haven't been as pro-Republican. They have come more to the middle. And
with the exception of Sean Hannity.
Right, of course. And a lot of people said that the Hannity-Donnie town hall wasn't really a town hall. It was like a fake town hall. So, people gave Fox a lot of criticism for that. But I think anytime we have debates, the way that networks fact check is, to me, what kind of gives you a good idea of who won or lost.
That's been a huge part of this conversation, because Donald Trump wanted them to not fact check in real time, which has been an ongoing edict of his.
Right.
He did not get that in this debate. So, will this be the only debate, or will we get another debate?
Well, I think it depends how it goes for Donnie.
And I think it's going to be very interesting to see how ABC handles fact checking in this debate, because if Kamala's got to do the fact checking, she's going to lose. She needs to talk not hardcore policy, because nobody wants to hear politicians talking about policy.
Right.
She has to be that really strong debater. She has to be somebody that can speak to, hey, because one of the things I think Donald Trump has really struggled with, the other day when he was asked about how are you going to make childcare more affordable, he was asked directly and he couldn't answer the question. And he said, we're going to create so much new money, but didn't have an answer. When she is asked her economic policy, and she will be asked, she needs to talk in generalities that are as specific as possible.
And that sounds kind of funny to say, right? Generalities that are as specific as possible, but that is the key.
You have to be able to speak to the middle American that's making 70 grand, who's not sure who they're voting for. And she has not yet done that. Tonight, she has to do that. She's got to stay out of the Donald Trump spew of lies, spew of insults, and let him be who you need him to be. Now, on Donald Trump's side of this, he's got to stay off of talking about her being black, talking about her being a woman, talking about her being nasty,
personal
talking
insults.
but he's got to stay out of that.
Yeah.
Because he is the polling number, no matter who you put the poll out, his percentages with women have plummeted, because this abortion thing has really hurt him. He's got to stand up there tonight and give a definitive policy statement on women's right to choose. Yes or no? Are you defending abortion bans? Yes or no? Are you in favor of codifying a woman's right and a woman's freedom to her own health decisions? Yes or no?
But see, I think he finds himself in a rock and a hard place with that question. I think
I totally agree.
I think for Donald Trump, that's a difficult question to navigate because of what you have done to this point. And I think, again, and I'm just giving you guys my opinion based on what I think we're going to see tonight with questions like this. Like, if Donald Trump answers that question with just kind of talking around it, like he doesn't give the yes or no, the real definitive, take a stance as a candidate answer, you're going to see Kamala come out and respond to that and say, hey, this is my stance. Yes, yes. Like, I think that that's what she's being coached on. I think that that's what they've been working on is, hey, he's going to say what he's going to say, but then you need to come out and be definitive and be on your, because what have we seen so far in her speeches, like the DNC speech? She didn't really talk about him a ton. Like, she did mention him a couple times, but it was much more about like what she's doing. So if they stay in that lane, I think she will be okay. But if she does, if she comes out and gives a terrible debate like she did 2 years ago, and I still think that's in there somewhere, I'm guessing she's going to be a lot better tonight.
Her vice presidential debate was pretty strong. It was the debate where she was on stage with all the other candidates, and that was what, 6 years ago now? 5 years ago? She can't do that again.
No.
And I think that's going to be very tough. And I think the other part here is who's better at talking off of the top of their heads. I think that's an advantage to Kamala Harris. Donald Trump, when he goes off his teleprompter, it has been a major problem. And I think the last thing I'll say before we get out of here is he's got to sound mentally sound.
Sharp.
He's got to sound sharp. Thank you.
Yeah.
He's got to sound mentally sharp.
Yeah.
Because there's growing momentum where he just gets into these rambling situations. And he did it in the Biden debate where he just mumbles and doesn't speak clearly. And
well, it's that clip from the town hall he did with Hannity, wasn't it?
Yes.
Where he made it initially seem like he was confused about who he was actually running against because he was talking about Joe.
And then he didn't go to Kamala Harris. He went to Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
And he tends to get confused. And I think he's got, because remember, there's not going to be an audience here. There are no teleprompters and the opponent's microphone is off. So
it's going to be very clean cut, bad or good.
You're either going to speak well or you're not. And you're either going to have answers or you're not. Because you can say what you want about Stephanopoulos. And I know that the party of Trump loves to rip that guy. He's going to ask you difficult questions. They're going to press you.
As they should. I like that in debates. And I want to see Kamala get pressed. I want to see them lean on her. And, like when they're talking about the things that she struggles with, whether that's, the border, Afghanistan, these different things that are not necessarily in Kamala's wheelhouse, you need to press her on that. I do, because I don't want the party of Trump supporter, the person who's already voting for Don, who's way in that camp. I don't want that person to watch this debate tonight and feel like, well, they didn't really lean on Kamala the way they did on Donnie, right? Like, I would love for everybody to unanimously come out of this debate feeling like, hey, yes, Kamala Harris was leaned on, was pressed. She had some bad moments, but also had some good moments. Like, that's what I'm looking for out of debates moving forward, is I want it to be, I want it to be equal opportunity, meaning, hey, let Donnie say what he wants to say. Let her say what she wants to say. Because we're not going to get like a lot of people don't want the mic thing to be set up the way it is, where the opponent's mic is off, and they want it to be what we had, with Donnie several years ago, where all the mics are on.
But why didn't he want that?
Yeah.
Because it hurt him against Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
And as I've told you, he is, if Donald Trump is nothing else, he loves the debate. But I think he learned a lot out of those poor performances against Hillary Clinton and leading up to that. I'm curious, does he attack her for being a woman? Because if he does, if this JD Vance,
or can she shake him into doing that?
If this JD Vance Catwoman or Haitians eating your pet BS, like, you cannot do that.
Yeah,
you cannot do that. Real quick on JD Vance, did you guys see that the Trump campaign put out a graphic that said Trump 2024, the home stretch, and then deleted it? Because what didn't it say on that banner? It didn't say Trump Vance 2024. Do you think they because this Haitian thing that he did the other day really, I think, really hurt
There's that, but I think in the bigger picture for the campaign, it's what he's not doing. He's not helping Trump at all. There's not been.
I agree.
Like again, and I always bring it up when we talk Vance. Like when he was announced as the VP pick, there was like, I intentionally on YouTube TV was flipping around. I was like, all right, I know that Fox is going to like this. I know that CNN's probably going to rip them. But what are the other ones saying? What's CBS, NBC? And people were like, hey, this should be a good pick.
It should put him over the top.
And it's been nothing short of a dumpster fire because JD Vance is not a powerful speaker and is someone that the skeletons came out of the closet on him a little bit. They went after him. And now I just feel like there's not a great way back for him. But the problem is it's way too late in the process to replace him. So do I believe that they wanted to put that out? Yes. I think that the party of Trump and that campaign wants to distance themselves from JD Vance at every corner possible, unless they're asked directly about what they think of him, and then they will praise him.
Yeah, I think it is. This is one of the most consequential nights in the history of American politics.
Yeah.
And if you don't watch this debate tonight, I think you're crazy. I'm here for it. I am looking forward to it. He needs to be coherent and sharp. And Kamala Harris needs to show that she can talk about policy without being too lost in the weeds on it.
Does she bring up the felonies?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt she will. It's her whole thing. I'm a prosecutor. He's a felon. I know who Donald Trump is.
Yeah.
And it's a smart tact. I mean, it speaks directly to a lot of her base, but we're not here to win the base. We're here to win the undecided voter.
Right.
And I think she's done a really good job with women. I think black men are a real problem for her. And I think she's got to come out tonight and make inroads in the male black community if she wants to truly, because they're dead even. There's no way to spin it. She has lost some momentum. The field has come back to Trump a little bit. And now pretty much, and especially in the battleground states, and the fact she's winning in Pennsylvania is still shocking to me. But she's within the margin of error there, and they're dead even everywhere else.
Including Florida.
And, well, she's got a 1-point lead in Florida, which is a little surprised. They're dead even.
Yeah.
But if she's going to have to show that she has the chops to talk policy without getting too far into the minutia that none of us want to hear about.
Yeah.
Tell me you're going to tax rich people. Tell me you're going to continue to create jobs. Tell me that you're going to codify abortion rights. Tell me that you have a plan for the border. I think Anthony Blinken this morning, the Secretary of State, I don't know how many people saw what he said this morning. He essentially said that there needs to be a complete shift in policy from Israel. But what has she said? That both sides have to have an equitable solution. I think she has handled the Israel-Palestine situation very well. She has spoken directly to both sides. I think if I am Donald Trump, I have to make her talk about Afghanistan.
Yes.
And if I'm Kamala Harris, when he brings that up, I'm talking about that Arlington National debacle, whatever that was.
Yeah.
Those are the issues. What's going to win this debate is his ability to stay off of the personal insults, especially attacking her as a woman or as a woman that's black or not black. And she's got to be able to stay out of that and talk about policy. They do that, she's going to win the debate. If he does that, he will win the debate.
Yeah.
And you know what I think the likely outcome is? Nobody wins the debate. I think there's a real chance of that.
And we get another one.
And if she does well in this debate, I would expect her to go out on a one-on-one radio and TV tour, because she's got to start taking questions. It is something that she's got to do. We'll see how it goes. I think it is one of the most consequential nights in the history of American politics. We'll talk about it tomorrow. You can rest assured on that. The Monty Show, presented by The Advocates at theadvocates.com, where you never reach into your pocket to pay the advocates. You never pay the advocates. In fact, you don't pay the advocates unless and until they win your case. You get a settlement. That's how you pay the advocates. The injury attorney experts. Chat with an injury attorney live online, 24/7, 365. It won't cost you a time at theadvocates.com. Until tomorrow, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.